All right, welcome to another episode of Inappropriate Earl. You guys know what I strive for in this podcast, to interview my stand-up comedy friends, to expose them to a new fan base. And then once I realized that got me about 5 listeners, I had to reach out to my favorite musicians, actors, comics, porn stars, wrestlers. Today is a special episode. He's one of the few guests I have, as the lead singer from Rat would say, come back for more. Not many two-timer guests on this show. This man's one of them. You see him do the warm-up for Jimmy Kimmel Live every single day. Has the longest running show in Comedy Store history, 25 years. The Ding Dong Show, Monday nights, 10 p.m. Has 3 podcasts of his own, all top-ranked on iTunes. Put your little wiener-like hands together for the one, the only, Dandy Don Barris.
Whoa, what an intro. Thanks, Earl. Thank you very much. I would like to correct a couple things, though, okay? Is that all right?
Hey, you're the guest, baby.
You say you don't have many people that you haven't gained fans. Let me tell you this. When I look at Andrew Jacobs, you're always on his top 10 podcast list. You're right up there. Where did you...
But he only listens to like 10 podcasts.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. I still had 3 in the top 10. I'm very proud of that. Do you know him at all?
I mean, I think I've met him once or twice when he was up at the Comedy Store to watch the Ding Dong Show.
Yeah.
So I get, yeah, and I think I was the first guy he interviewed on his podcast interview.
So you were on his podcast interview.
Well, it was more an interview. It wasn't, I guess he was interviewing his favorite podcasters.
And what was he doing with it? Just keeping him to himself?
I think he released it. He might get less viewers than I do, but he's the kind of fan I want.
Oh, absolutely. He loves his podcast, and he sure says it enough. I wonder how many followers he has on his Twitter.
I'm guessing under 100. But, that's a whole scam, Twitter followers and whatnot. I mean...
Not always.
Well, I mean...
You scam?
I don't. I don't have one fake follower.
And neither do I. And I will say this. Now watch what will happen is people will just drop off the earth, leaving me. But, my 8,000 followers, I believe in my heart are real. I didn't go out and solicit them. I don't play that game that you're supposed to follow everybody so they follow you.
You got to do it Ari Shaffir style. He has like 95,000 followers, doesn't follow one person. I think he might follow Rogan.
I do that with my my Instagram. I think the only person I follow is Mary Jane.
Yes.
And then on my Vine, I don't follow anybody.
I'm not even on Vine, so.
Well, you probably don't like making the videos.
Well, 6 seconds. I mean, one thing I do like about Vine is it's just 6 seconds, and unlike Periscope, where people can be unfunny for longer.
Right. Exactly. But I think, and I've changed the name of mine to Barriscope, and I think for people like in the Midwest or people that don't get to see anything, to go to the Comedy Store is kind of cool to see what's going on there. They hear about it, but now they're seeing it. I think the Barriscope also, I'll do something at Jimmy Kimmel. It's kind of cool to do that. Why do you have 2 mics with you, by the way?
Well, I'm set up for 6 mics, but this is a good time to plug my only sponsor of the show, the singer, the former singer of Rat, Stephen Piercy. He was nice enough to donate some of his new product, Mike Knuckles. So
when you say donate,
well, I paid for 1, but then he gave me 2 on the house.
Whoa. And now he's your sponsor.
Now he's my buddy.
Is he?
He texts me every now and then, only speaks to me in rat lingo.
Like, what's rat lingo exactly?
Well, he speaks to me in like rat song titles. Like, he invited me to the Whiskey. He had a show recently. He's like, "Hey, brother, come watch me lay it down tonight." And the best was he invited me backstage. And there really isn't a backstage at the Whiskey. There's just like one huge VIP room. And I walk back there and he looks at me and goes, "Hey, everyone." And there's a lot of people back there. "This is my best friend in the whole world." And he just stares at me. I'm like, "It's Earl." Steven. Earl. You did my podcast.
That's so funny, man.
But he's very nice to me. So,
but I will say this: it's like before the show we were talking. I really think it's very true. See, you have not. What would you say the years, the prime years, the years that you won't leave behind? 1980 what through 92? Where would you say that goes?
I would say that my favorite entertainers outside of Don Rickles is like 83 to maybe 91.
Really? So you don't even go for the 2 double Guns N' Roses albums?
Well, that's when I checked out on Guns N' Roses.
Really? Well, you didn't stay long then.
Well, they were, I liked, their obviously Appetite and their EP Lies. But as soon as Adler left, there was a bit of heart of the band left.
Really?
His zaniness, and who I used to live in a building with him.
Oh, really?
2170 Century Park East in Century City.
Oh, there's a band that had it all.
Yeah.
I always thought of like, for those grungy kind of dirty bands, you had the Rolling Stones, followed up by Aerosmith. I thought they were going to be the next in line to take that crown of like kind of hard rocking superstar bands that did it the right way, the dirty way.
Well, I remember I used to play hockey on Sunday nights in Culver City. It was a real dirty group of guys. You had Black Bruce, who was O.J. Simpson's mailman, and Black Rocky, who was the guitar player from Suicidal Tendencies.
Really?
Rocky George. And I remember he bought a cassette one night, and this is about 88. I said, you guys got to hear this new band. They're going to be the biggest thing in the world. And it was like a promo of Appetite for Destruction.
Really?
And he played Welcome to the Jungle over the hockey rink speakers. I was like, wow, this is not Warren's Cherry Pie.
No, it's not. And when you think about it, that was an album that did something too. I mean, can you name another album, maybe even your lifetime, that every track you kind of liked?
I mean, me personally, I can, and I think some people might.
Well, what others?
The Cars debut album. I don't think there's a bad song on it. It didn't sell like Appetite for Destruction.
Right.
But
Wow. I would have never thought you would have put the Cars in there. I know you like Cars. I think we did a cover of some of the Cars music in the BKO. By the way, can I make the announcement now here?
Please do.
Well, October 9th, we are having what I like to call the Windy Supreme Weekend. It may change, but the reason it's that because the Big Three is going to the Festival Supreme. So we're inviting a bunch of people out here for a 4-day weekend. Friday, we're going to, and this is where you'll be involved. We're doing a live podcast from Leeds, and we're bringing a lot of music. So the BKO will be performing there for our Live at Leeds concert. So we're performing from the Mattress King's store.
I hope he gives me the 3 pillows.
Oh, you haven't gotten them yet?
Well, I haven't paid for them, but no, I haven't.
How much did he say he charge you?
I think like 30 a pillow.
Is that a good price?
But most high-end pillows are about $30.
Really?
Big ones.
Because I got one of those foam pillows I ordered online because I think I slept on my neck wrong one time and the pain was just so bad. I said, I got to get a good pillow. At least that's what Mary Jane said. And so I got a $145 pillow.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. I didn't think they cost that much, to be honest with you. Yeah, 145. Where'd you get it from?
Online. It's one of those foam pillows.
Oh, Tempur-Pedic?
I don't think it's Tempur-Pedic because that's a human being. Tempur-Pedic is what you're thinking. And I think those are just beds.
I thought they made, usually most high-end bed places make their own. They get into the pillow and the shams and the bed duvet covers. It's a whole scheme.
Yeah, well, anyway, so that'll be fun. So on October 9th, you're going to be playing Live at Leeds with us.
I'm humbled and honored to get the band back.
Band has been missing for a while.
Well, members went away and come back, and some disappear and don't come back.
It's quite a band story. They should do a book on that.
They should do a 30 for 30 on the.
Except that 30 for 30 is strictly sports. By the way,
but
speaking of sports, the studio's changed since the last time I was here. It's like the Hockey Hall of Fame here.
We'll have a lot of hockey trophies from my league.
And they all are current. 2013, leading score. Are you that good of a scorer?
I have a very hard shot, incredibly hard shot. But I'm also probably the only guy in my league who plays with $200 sticks. So, they really help.
What's the difference? What does that do?
Where they're just harder, and it's like if you're used a wiffle ball bat and then used an aluminum bat.
How many trophies do you have? I see there's 8 there, 9, 10, 11.
4 over here, so you got 13.
15. 11 plus 4.
Oh, yeah, and then I have probably about maybe 20 more upstairs in the jersey room.
Really?
Well, I've been playing in this one particular ball hockey league, SoCal Street Hockey, since '89. So I've been out there quite a while. It's the only non-comedy thing I do these days.
Really?
I play on a team right now with 2 twin brothers and all their kids.
And all their kids?
Yeah, they have probably 10 kids between them. So it's a co-ed team, and we're not that good, but as long as I score a lot.
That's all that matters.
Well, I think we won the title last year and 2 years ago.
You think you won the title?
We won a few titles, but we play against a lot of teams who are better than us, so we get killed a lot too. But we have a female goalie. She's pretty good.
Who's that?
That's some girl lives out in the OC. It's co-ed league. And then I come do comedy every night. So it's like the only group of people I'm around that aren't comics, and I love it.
Really? It gets you away for sure.
No one cares about the business or Montreal or.
Do you care about Montreal?
I think I'm going this year for the first time.
Really?
For roast battle. So.
Really? The whole.
Well, it's just a skeleton crew.
Like who will go?
Jeff Ross. It's actually called the Jeff Ross Roast Master Invitational. And,
really?
And then I'm unsure who's exactly going. The details aren't exactly free flowing.
You're smirking. I don't know what that means.
No, I don't know who's going, to be honest with you. So I know Brian Moses is going. He's the host. And Coach T, the DJ, is going. Jeff Ross is going.
Is Jeff Ross paying for people?
Well, I think the festival's paying for us. So that's good. And there'll be a lot of celebrity judges. I think Jason Reitman and Dave Chappelle and, pretty much Jeff will.
He'll fill that.
Yeah, he'll get,
and it's great because it's a comedy festival, so there'll be a lot of guys in town.
Yeah, everyone in the comedy world, for the most part, is there. I
went to the one when they were in Austin. You didn't go to that?
Yeah, I didn't want to pay my own way, so I'm not paying to perform.
It's almost like you reach a certain age and you say, you know what? I'm no longer going to live in an apartment with another man.
Yeah.
That comes up at one point. And maybe doing gigs where you pay your own way is probably another one.
Yeah, I've reached that point,
Yeah.
We had to pay our own way to get to the New York Comedy Festival. And it didn't work out for me so well.
Why didn't that work out for you?
It was a lot of money. At the end of the day, it was about $3,000 I had to spend.
Really?
I had to spend, I was given very little notice on plane tickets, so I had to buy my ticket and Whitney's ticket, who was doing the House Haters thing with me. Because she couldn't have, really afford to go at that time. And then I had to pay for 2 nights in a New York hotel on a weekend, so you can imagine what that cost was. And then, it was a fun show. It was like Gramercy Theater sold 600-700 people, sold out, standing room only.
Really? We
were the talk of the festival because, everyone was there for that show. And then, roast was okay. Wasn't. I don't think people got what me and Whitney were doing. We were sitting, on the stage, and we had a big sign at our table.
I'm sure your audience knows, though.
Well, I don't know if I don't talk a lot about roast battle on the podcast, but at that time we were known as the House Racist.
What are you known as now?
The House Haters, because after New York, I was just, listen, it's too much of a hole to dig out of.
Really? And what happened in New York to you?
Well, New York, we were seating right in front of the stage, on the stage, and a huge sign at our table that said whites only.
And did people fuck with you from that moment on?
Well, I knew when I said the first joke and it didn't really fly.
What was the first joke, just to get kind of a flavor?
Well, Jeff Ross set me up. Hey, House Racist, good to see you guys here. How was your flight out? And I'm like, well, it was going good until Patrick Ewing tried to swat our plane down on the Empire State Building. And just... So
you're saying in New York that didn't go very
I thought it would, because they're known as an edgier comedy town, and I thought anyone who's in that theater is going to be into roasting, the roasting type of humor, which is different than regular stand-up. And 3 people in the room laughed, and including one guy in the front who was in tears. I'm like, all right, well, I know who are the racists are in this crowd. And then I don't know. Whitney had a couple good lines that went over pretty well, and then I got the room back a little bit. But
what did she say? She's funny.
No, she's great. I forgot. Really that weekend was a blur. But we had a couple lines that got the room back, and I think Amy Schumer was staring daggers at us. Like you could tell she wasn't a fan of our humor.
Really?
And, Gilbert Gottfried liked us. He's like, I want to sit with you guys. Yeah, he probably stole the show. He was really...
he does every time he goes somewhere.
He was telling this really long, dirty joke. It wasn't the aristocrats joke, but it was just like, it was pretty graphic. And, he's like, so I fucked her in the ass. I stuck my finger up her butthole. And he's about 14 minutes into this joke, and someone interrupted him. Like, someone tripped right in front of him. So he just started...
Oh, wasn't it some guy...
I want to say it was Josh Martin. Who was doing the sound.
Yeah, I think it might have been, because I think I remember it was somebody from the Comedy Store.
Yeah, it was definitely someone from the store. So he started the joke from the beginning.
Did he make a big thing about he had tripped in the middle of my joke and then started?
He said something. It didn't make too big of a deal, and then he just started the joke literally word for word from the beginning again. So, and the crowd loved it, and the roasting was. There was 4 big roasts that night, and it was a long show. So toward the end, the crowd was just like, all right, we've had enough.
We're done.
But it was still, no one left. I mean, it was, people kept coming in. So it was a fun experience from that perspective, but not one I wish I would have paid $3,000 for.
Yeah.
So Montreal's being handled a little differently. So should be fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I have Mole and Perry and myself were doing the Festival Supreme, the Jack Black thing. And I have no idea what the hell we're going to do.
When is that?
3 months from tomorrow, actually.
And where is it?
It's here in Los Angeles somewhere. It's like a huge festival. I mean, Tenacious D plays there. It's this year that band, The Antwoord. Do you know who they are?
The N-word?
No. It's amazing how your mind works. No, The Antwoord.
Oh, I know. I'm not really familiar.
South African rappers, but they're 2 white people that look like they belong in a trailer park, but they're spectacular. A lot of people at the Comedy Store seem to like them.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but it's like, but I have no idea what we're going to do.
Well, you never know at those big festivals. They're kind of clusterfucks.
Yeah, I want to find out if we're on a small stage early. I know the festival starts at 2, and I don't think that they're going to have us between The Antwoord and Tenacious D, so I think that we're probably up pretty early.
I mean, we did the Riot Fest of L.A.
What's that?
Roast Battle. And it's like it's like our Montreal, I guess, but in LA.
Really?
And it was complete craziness.
Do you think anybody knows outside the Comedy Store what goes on at the Comedy Store?
I think they hear rumors, but I don't think they really know. You gotta. It's like a Kiss concert. You got to see it live. I mean, you got to like walk through there at 1:30 in the morning and you see various comics walking around, taking girls by the hand, showing them the facilities and
So nice. Some of those comics are so nice.
Tours. And, I went into the main room the other night and I see this girl in the dark. I'm like, what are you doing back here? This area's closed. And I just hear another comic's voice, Earl. I'm like, oh, excuse me.
Who is the comic?
I cannot say.
Do I know this person?
Yeah, but
Would they be a person that I see quite often there late night?
Yes, but that's all I can divulge.
Can I ask one other question?
Sure.
Is he a person that does that a lot? Does he have a reputation for doing that?
He's more discreet, so I would say no.
Is he somewhat of a celebrity, or at least making a fairly good living from show business?
Not necessarily. But let's just leave it at that, because I'm skull and bones.
One more question. You don't want to talk about it.
Well, no, I believe in people. I'm a man of my word. I don't want to out anyone in there.
Well, did he say, don't tell anybody?
Well, no, but
Well, let me ask you this. Let me just throw this at you. Let's say he's listening to Inappropriate Earl today, and he's hearing this story, and he says, well, that's about me. Oh, my goodness, I sure hope they talk about me.
I don't think he would have that enthusiasm.
You don't think so? No. Maybe we should just drop it then.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? But I'm just, it's the story. Like last night, you brought up a girl on stage, and one of the employees gave her a very nice massage on stage, and we were all in the back.
Very, very cute girl, very cute body. Teeth look like. I think. What did you say about somebody with?
She seemed to have 32 teeth that went in 33 different directions. Definitely, and that's funny because I went to the dentist yesterday to get my teeth cleaned.
Right. And did they say anything about that with you?
I mean, I got a couple cavities I need filled, but other than that, this girl's cavities would be a good news for her. I mean...
But beyond that, she was a really cute girl.
Great tits, nice body, but she just shouldn't smile.
No.
I mean, she had the jack-o'-lantern teeth, looked like a pumpkin on Halloween.
But she did get a nice massage from a guy and a girl.
Yeah, but I think she was more into the guy.
You think so? I was right there orchestrating it, and I thought she was more into the girl.
But that's the great thing about the Comedy Stores, and I think I said it last night, and I always say it when a scene like that is happening, is you don't get that at the Laugh Factory.
No, you don't.
Like, you don't see the closing comic or any comic bring up a girl, massage. I mean, we've seen some things on that stage late night.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we have.
I mean, the double blowjob scene, with Ari Shaffir and Madonia and the porn star. Well, I won't say star, but actress. You orchestrating a Q&A with her with completely naked. You don't get that at, the Comedy Zone in Jacksonville.
See, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I've heard that story told, and I'm never even involved in it. It becomes another comic that, was outside and said that he orchestrated the whole thing.
Well, I mean, we were doing the band, if you've ever been to the Comedy Store, and I think a lot of my listeners have. We were doing the BKO, and
which is performing. I got to push it at Live at Leeds, October 9th.
Be there for all you SoCalers.
It's our biggest concert ever. I think there's room for 40 people here, and I think he doesn't realize that because I don't know if you've ever been in a betting store.
They're not very big.
They're not very big, and they do it with the trick mirrors, so it looks bigger, and every inch of the place is filled with beds.
And people,
And I don't think he's going to want people on the beds.
That's I was about to say. I don't think you really want Comedy Store fans or fans of our band or the
fans
Ding Dong
of the
Show.
Those
Big Three podcast.
People will be coming from all over.
I don't think you really want them loitering on your new beds.
They're a lot of these fans, from what I understand, they're renting mansions.
By mansions, you mean like studio apartments in the Village?
No, like
Nicole Perez.
no. You love Nicole Perez, don't you?
Well, like Leo said in 52 Pickup, she's got goodies.
I got to watch that movie again. That was one thing that we kind of had, the movie 52 Pickup. Do you think people out there, your fan base, knows this at all?
I try and mention it every now and then, and if you, when you leave here, I will show you the autographed VHS box cassette that John Glover, the bad guy, signed.
Ooh.
And it's one of my prized autographed possessions.
Do you mind if I take a picture near it?
Oh, no, not at all.
So you can look for that on my Twitter.
He's on my bucket list of guests I want to interview.
How do you go about trying to find some guests? Because all I have are people that are basically in the Ding Dong Show or somebody from the Comedy Store on my Simply Don podcast. How do you get guests?
Well, like with someone like, say, John Glover, I looked for him on Facebook and Twitter. I don't think he has, he's a working actor for
Still?
Oh, yeah. He's won Tony Awards on Broadway. And, he's a guy that you might think what happened to him, but you look up his IMDb page, probably over 100 film credits. So, some people just aren't into, Facebook and Twitter. And since he's a little older, he's probably, what do I want to be on Twitter for? So he's tough to find contact for. But then, like the other day I was telling you, I looked up Adrian Zmed, who I thought he'd be an interesting guy. I mean, here's a guy, if you think about it, his first film is Tom Hanks' Bachelor Party, or one of his first films. And then he did Grease 2 with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Was he the lead in that?
He was the lead in Grease 2. So, at one point he was like, this guy's the next guy. I mean, at least.
It's hard to believe, but there are people that actually look at Grease 2 as a good film.
I mean, obviously nothing was going to, they're kind of like when Adam Carolla was the guy who replaced Stern. It was just, nothing was going to compare to the first one. So, I mean, I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. And there's some great songs on it.
What are the great songs?
Well, great given, the context of soundtrack songs. Bowl Tonight, when Adrian Zmed hits that high note.
Can you sing a little?
Let's see. No, it's called Score Tonight. Hey, Paulette, take a look over here. I'm your kingpin, honey, and we're getting near. Hey, Johnny, gonna score tonight. And I don't know, And then Adrian Zmed hits a high note that Brad Delp from Boston would be proud of.
Really?
Yeah, he does the splits. It's a good video. Look up Score Tonight, Grease 2, and, about 2.5 minutes in, Zmed hits a high note very few can.
I'll tell you something. As fun as that sounds, I don't think I'll ever do that.
Well, you should, though. You will, though. I know you will. And so, I said, and, he was the guy who took over for Denny Terrio on Dance Fever.
Did he?
Not the greatest gig, but, he probably got to fuck Merv Griffin, so.
Do you think you would have been into that type of thing?
I mean.
Now, when you think of Denny Terrio, holy crap. That whole disco era was about coke and sex, the two things. That guy must have just been fucking constantly.
Oh, yeah, Merv Griffin.
No, Denny Terrio.
Well, but I mean, that's who produced Dance Fever, so.
Right, but he didn't fuck him, do you think?
Come on, man.
Really? Am I being naive now?
You probably still think the earth is flat. And then, then he's in TJ Hooker. So he had a nice, 3 or 4 year run of pretty high profile gigs. And then, I don't know what happened, but that's, someone who I'd like to get on just to talk about.
Oh, I thought you had him on.
No, I was saying I'm having a hard time getting someone like, say, John Glover, who
right.
But Adrian Zmed actually accepted my friend request and, said he'd, think about it. And I see a lot of kind of working actors at my gym. So
have you ever had the guts to ask them?
I asked Greg Henry the other night, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love to do it."
Who's that?
He's the guy. He's that typical. He's over 100 credits on IMDb. probably one of the more prolific character actors of the last 20 years. And I just think it would be neat to have someone like that. Just to say, dude, you were in Scarface and you've worked steadily since. So,
you know, I was saying this, and I know that I started, and I know the worst thing about doing podcasts is getting lost and starting a story and never really finishing it. But I was saying to you before, one of the great things about your podcast is you live in that era, and you said between 83 and
like 91.
And in there, people that were popular during that time, you know, the best part of their career is normally behind them. So when you ask them, and how do you sell your podcast? What do you say to people? Like, pretend I'm a guy that you want to have on the show. Give me a name. Somebody you'd like to have.
Let's say you were a cast member in, let's say, Over the Top, the Stallone arm wrestling movie.
So who was a cast member in there?
Well, the main bad guy died. You know,
I don't want to be him.
Let's just say the kid from Over the Top.
Okay.
Who I don't think I've seen in anything since.
Okay. So how would you go and approach
I would, you know, Facebook.
I'll answer
I would, you know, you reach out online, you know, Facebook or Twitter, possibly Instagram now, and I would say, hey, Mr. Mendenhall.
Is that his name?
David Mendenhall.
Okay.
Say, hey, my name's Earl Skakel, and I oversell myself a little bit. I say, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so let's do this. Now I've responded to you. I said, I'd be interested. Why don't you give me a call? So now this is that call.
Ring, ring, ring.
Hello, David's residence.
Hey, David, it's Earl Skakel, Inappropriate Earl podcast.
How do I know you?
Contact you on Facebook about doing my show.
Okay.
You know, I'm a big fan of Over the Top and yours individually as well. And,
really? Tell me something else I've done. Are you there?
I think you did. Hold on. Let me look up your IMDb page.
No, that wasn't what I was just trying to see where this. Okay. All right. So you're big Over the Top.
Big Over the Top fan. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I would love to have you on to discuss it. I mean, you got to. I mean, that was probably, some would say, the zenith of Stallone's career.
Really? You think that?
Well, I mean, the movie didn't do well, but, you know, 80s, you know, he had just done Cobra, which was a huge box office thing. Before that, Rocky, I think 4 was a killer. I mean, he really... he had one or two bombs. I mean, Nighthawks didn't do that great.
But I'll tell you, that's actually one of my favorite Stallone movies.
Oh, yeah.
Nighthawks. Do you feel that way too then?
Oh, I bought Rutger Hauer's autobiography just to read the chapter on Nighthawks, which he did not look very favorably back on. So
really? Why? Did he think that Stallone was an asshole?
Well, this was, I guess, Stallone's first movie that he was, you know, either producing or directing. It was like... You know, he had, you know, I think Rocky 2 was a pretty big hit. And so this was like, all right, let's see what you got when it's not called Rocky. And I guess the first scene they had filmed, if you remember the movie Nighthawks, was the end, which is kind of weird when you think about it. And that's the scene where he's dressed up as Lindsay Wagner. Rutger Hauer comes in to kill him. He turns around and shoots him, and Rutger Hauer goes flying out of the apartment. Apparently, they had Rutger Hauer on a cable, you know, so when, you know, the fake bullets hit him, it would pull him back. And Stallone told the stunt coordinator, without telling Rutger Hauer, crank it up to the highest level.
Really?
So he got pulled a lot harder than he had anticipated. And Rutger Hauer basically in his book was like, all right, this is how this movie is going to go. We're in for a long shoot.
Oh, so they did that right at the beginning?
Yeah, that was the first scene that Rutger Hauer had filmed. So every chase scene you see throughout Nighthawks, which was done after that scene, Rutger Hauer would outrun Stallone in every scene because he was like, this guy thinks he's going to alpha male me. I'm going to be more physically in shape or whatever than him. And he said that really pissed off Stallone. So... you know, that is one of my top 5 Stallone movies. It kind of gets overlooked.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Well, I love Rutger Hauer, and he was so good as the bad guy, you know. And
well, that's not really a reason why wasn't very popular. Why do you think it wasn't?
Oh, well, let me see. What kind of movies were big in 82? I think Return of the Jedi was just about to come out. It was kind of semi-low budget, not enough special effects, outside of Stallone, Rutger Hauer was an unknown. Billy D. Williams was certainly not an unknown, but
Billy D. Williams was a major star. Billy D. Williams actually was such a big star that he represented sex appeal, soulful sex appeal, unlike anybody at the time.
Oh, he still does. I see him at the gym every now and then, and I'm not starstruck by many people. We see the biggest names and certainly comedy at the store, and it's like, oh, that's this guy or this girl. But Billy D. Williams works out in an all-white jumpsuit with sunglasses on, and he's usually on the treadmill, and you're like, fuck, man, that's Lando Calrissian.
Is that what you look at him as?
That's how I look at him as, or Sergeant Fox from Nighthawks. So, but yeah, it's one of those movies. Another movie that I love actually came out in 77 called Roller Coaster.
Really? I don't even know that movie.
Oh, it's a movie about a guy who goes around the country blowing up roller coasters. And Timothy Bottoms.
It's sounding more and more familiar.
Well, unfortunately, it came out the same weekend as Star Wars. So it just, you talk about just bad luck.
But you know what? Sometimes that's good luck because there's people that go to those. And I could see a lot of parents maybe leaving their kids and they see another movie because they didn't want to see Star Wars and fight with all the bullshit of that.
Yeah, you'd think that might be the case, but, it just didn't
because
catch on.
They're at the theater, that type of thing.
George Segal, or Siegel, he was like the FBI agent who, was chasing him all around the country. And one of my favorite older actors, Richard Widmark, was the cranky, FBI guy, and Steve Guttenberg's first role ever.
Oh.
So, but it just didn't pan out. Big Wednesday, another movie. There's a great documentary. I don't usually plug other things on my show that I have nothing to do with, but on Netflix about John Milius, which was
John Milius. Who is that?
Did Apocalypse Now and.
But what do you mean? He was an actor?
No, he was producer, director, and best friends with George Lucas and Spielberg. They all went to the USC Film School.
Really?
And everyone thought John Milius was going to be like bigger than those two because he was brilliant. And he did a surf movie called Big Wednesday.
Well, right there in itself would show that he's not going to be bigger than those other guys.
Great movie, though.
Great movie, maybe. But you know what? Who cares about surfing?
Yeah, that's probably,
in the Midwest. And when you're thinking about that, you got to figure all the people around the world, how many people are going to go see a movie, but how many people are interested in surfing because they don't have water. By the way, speaking of news, I saw this earlier today, and I was wondering your thoughts because he was one of my favorite players at a point. Kenny Stabler.
Yeah. Breaking news, Inappropriate Earl, the snake. I'm going to do the Gary Mulder typewriter.
I'll tell you, the Oakland Raiders during the time that he was there, very exciting team in the mid-'70s.
But I hated them because I was a Steeler guy.
Steeler guy. But still, don't you kind of look back and kind of respect the good opponents?
Oh, yeah. Him and Biletnikoff.
And who's the other guy? The other receiver. Who had all the gook on his hand.
Oh, well, no, that was Lester Hayes.
Lester Hayes. But I think all the receivers did it, too.
Yeah, Cliff Branch.
Cliff Branch is the one I was thinking.
I think Banaszak was the running back. And, John, of course, my favorite, if you love the movie North Dallas 40, the great John Matuzak.
Yes.
Oh, Bolitnikov said he was blackballed from the league after North Dallas 40 because he was
because they gave away secrets.
Well, yeah, and he was the stunt. I guess Nick Nolte's basically stunt receiver. So any of the wacky catches in North Dallas 40 were done by him. Mm-hmm. And of course, John Matuzak. He was in the great movie Caveman with Ringo Starr. And Sloth and the Goonies. A lot of people don't know that.
I think that for Ringo, it was a great movie because the fact he met his wife,
Barbara Bach,
looks good,
who is in one of my favorite cult movies ever.
What?
Ralph Macchio's first movie. It's called Up the Academy, and it is. I don't know if
he's in that.
Let me see. Well, let me see. Barbara Bach was like the sexy drill instructor. Ron Liebman. Who was so embarrassed by the movie, he had his name taken out of the credits. Mad TV. It was Mad TV's, I think, first movie they produced.
Really?
And it's just about horny guys, horny kids in a military academy. And it's pretty funny. It's a little dated now, but, 1980, what do you expect?
In your prime.
At 1980, I was 12 years old, listening to Kiss Unmasked, thinking that,
had you had sex as of yet?
No. That was 89. I blew it out. I was 21.
21, really?
So, but I remember listening to Kiss Unmasked going, God, Peter Criss drums sound different on this album. And it wasn't Peter Criss.
Bingo.
Anton Fig.
I was going to ask you something about that. What movie were we just talking about before that?
Big Wednesday, Nighthawks, Over the Top, Cobra.
Oh, all your Stallone movies.
The Stallone, he had some gems. And then he, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot kind of took him down a wrong path.
But did it take him down a wrong path?
Well, no, he did some good, like I love Cliffhanger. That was good.
Everybody puts down De Niro for all the comedies he does. He's never made more money doing those movies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he probably made more money on Meet the Fockers than Taxi Driver.
Oh, I'm absolutely positive about that. Absolutely positive because he was the producer and all that.
And The Fan. That's my favorite De Niro line ever is in The Fan with Wesley Snipes. He was De Niro's in the car with his kid. And they're talking about Wesley Snipes as a baseball player. I forget Wesley Snipes' name in the movie. And the kid says something like, well, I love Bobby Bonilla. He's the best. And De Niro looks at the kid and goes, yeah, well, Bobby Bonilla takes it in the ass. And the kid was like, what? And then that's not the name he used, but Bobby Bonilla's name, hit me in the memory bank.
So what's going to happen? What does the future hold? What do you see happening soon?
For me?
For everything. Oh. For like the Comedy Store. What's Earl's next move? What is going on here? Do you ever get frightened? Do you ever think, wow, am I doing the right thing?
I mean, when I see some of the people succeeding, I'm like, is this how I have to act to get ahead in the business? But, luckily I'm not like a starving...
right.
So I can stay a little more truer to my roots than some.
Yeah, I could not be luckier, Yeah. I'd like to be, a big part of Jimmy Kimmel Live. I do the audience warm up there. If anybody doesn't know, it'd be cool to be in there. I was on the other night. In the pre-show, Jimmy said, who would like to fight? Rowdy Ronda, what's her name? Rousey?
Rowdy Ronda Rousey.
Right. And I raised my hand and he got a kick out of that and said, I'd actually like to watch that. And then so during the show, he mentioned our warm-up guy wants to take her on. And they did a couple quick flashes to me and I'm right at the camera. So I'd like to do more of that. But boy, I'm very, very fortunate because I work basically 8 hours a week. Making enough money to keep things above my head and pay for a few things here and there. And I get to work on all these projects. That's the reason I do 3 podcasts. I'm very frightened, man. And, we're going to find out how much farther the big 3 goes because we're just about done with our pilot. And so we see where everything goes. And I'll tell you, this is not a fair town. It is not fair at all.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, Rob Schneider probably gave me the best advice when I think I had auditioned for Montreal 3 or 4 years in a row and didn't get it. And, one year that I had a callback, 2 people who basically bombed on the callback got it. And I think he sensed I was kind of like, what am I doing? And he's like, just become so big and so good, they can't deny you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, you think no shit, but it, coming from someone of his, that's a guy who's been to the mountaintop, in multiple areas of the business, movies, TV, stand up. So, if he says it, I'll listen to it.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting. I think that we live in an era where it's much easier to make yourself something special. I mean, think about it. We're doing a podcast right now. I do 3 podcasts that are out there, and that draws a lot of attention. You get a few thousand people that listen to what you do. They might be interested then in some of your social media stuff. Then it becomes, something where they turn somebody on to it. I'll tell you, we live in a great era if you want to try to make it on your own, because there's no upper management that has to say, oh yeah, let's have a meeting. Let's do something. I think I've had about 3 meetings in my life. I hear about these people that go to these festivals. And I think, holy crap. I see some of these things online, and some of the people, like, they'll talk about comedy in the area. They never mention my name. And they'll mention people that, like, I'm still curious how they ever get stage time. So this is not easy. Do you get real frustrated at all?
Oh, sure, man. I mean,
what's something that recently pissed you off and like, wow, it's just, like something that really upset you and like, wow, what am I doing?
Let me see. Probably you see people who get Montreal, and it's just an example.
But do you
or a late night talk show, which I'd love to do, just because I know nothing means what it used to be.
Right.
But this town is all industry credits.
You're getting some stuff on Tom Green.
Yeah, but
how'd you get with that?
Let me see. The Rob Schneider's ex-assistant is one of the producers.
Ah.
So, that's fun. But
were they happy with you when you did these shows?
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one for me to do, because I guess I'm responsible for getting the guest, but I have to save the good guests for this show.
Right.
So it's like I have to be creative in terms of like I had a recent episode of this where I had Nita Strauss, the guitar player from Alice Cooper's band.
Which guy was he? What era?
She's blonde, the blonde girl.
Oh, so
who was at the store the other night.
So it's a new, okay.
It's his newest guitar player. She's amazing. I mean, incredibly beautiful, but I'll put her up against any guy guitar player. I mean,
really?
Oh, she's not just there for the looks. I mean, I'll show you a tape of her where she's in it's like a jam session with Kenny Aronoff on drums, John Cougar's drummer.
Right.
Brad Gillis from Night Ranger, who's an amazing, and she held her own. Like, she did not take a back seat. But I had a choice of either getting her on here first or Tom Green's show, and I'm like, I got to have her on mine first.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Tom Green needs,
Probably has no idea who she is.
Yeah. But, it's like I need the listeners for my show first. So, but that's fun to do. And Tom is incredibly nice to me. So that's fun. But, you just, you see some people on show. So, I mean, I did a show recently with someone who got Montreal, and it's like, they couldn't even go on after me. And I'm not hard to follow, to be honest with you, because my energy's low, and, it's like they're getting Montreal. I couldn't even get an audition.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with management people.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you come back to that, taking the advice of your pal over there, He's exactly right. Just get to a level where now they have to bring you on because you're too big not to, and you'll hit that level. And when that happens, then it's all a cakewalk. Then.
Oh yeah, that's the goal, is to get to that level. And it's like roast battle has somewhat helped me in that area because every
You're
week
known by more people for sure.
Yeah, and that's I wouldn't say that's what got me past at the store, but I think Adam seeing me every week usually do well. Not every week, but I'd say 80% of the shows I've done have gone well or pretty good. So that helped. So I've gotten, and I got a cartoon series from that show. So
what's the cartoon series you got?
Tyler, the Creator. He's a huge rapper, and he's like the new P. Diddy. He's got clothing line, music, tours. He's got his own phone app. He was up at the roast battle one night, and I was kind of shitting all over him because I had no idea who he was. And I got a call the next day from his manager saying, "Would you like to be the voice of his dad in his new cartoon series?"
The voice of his dad?
Yeah. It's a great series. It's only on his app right now, but
he has a white father.
Well, no, I guess my voice I'm the only white guy on the show. My voice is pretty deep, and so I play the voice. I play Barry Jelly and the Jellies.
Give me a little Barry Jelly voice.
He's an office worker, and he's always getting hit on by his gay coworker, and so like you play the gay coworker and just say something, not dirty, but like say
something dirty though.
Well, go ahead. I mean,
I won't. Okay, forget.
But say just throw a like a come on line on me.
By the way, I'm completely joking. I obviously know you.
Well, it is a dirty.
Is it?
Excuse me. The cartoon series right now is I shouldn't say dirty, but it's very edgy. So right now it's only on his app.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure. He has another show on Adult Swim already. So
really?
This kid's amazing. 2.5 million followers on Twitter.
I'm trying to think of who that is.
Super nice guy.
What's his name again?
Tyler, the Creator.
I actually did see him.
I could see him being on Kimmel.
He was on Kimmel recently.
Yeah,
and he is a good guy.
Just
and he's just like kind of amazed that he's like, yeah, and I just started doing this. And he's like a guy that's constantly thinking of things to do.
Yeah, well, it's weird to the first day the pilot episode we did, I walk into this, $1 million recording studio, and to see this like kid in his mid-20s be so like, okay, we're going to do this, then we're going to do that there. That's not good. I mean, he was very businesslike.
Well, you see, that's the thing. I watch Kimmel, and that's what Kimmel's like. He, that's why he's going to be probably a pretty good producer. He's already produced a lot of shit because he thinks of ideas and he kind of envisions them, and he kind of has a knack for knowing what people like. And it's because he just is a likable dude. So's this guy.
Oh, he's incredible.
He's a really
to me.
nice guy. I saw that, and it's like one of those guys. After the show, I like, wow, I never knew who that was, but boy, I'm pulling for that dude.
Well, I mean, which was the funny thing is at roast battle, I'm playing the house hater / racist. I think I was still the house racist at the time,
right?
And he was actually sitting in my chair at my table. I'm like, hey man, you got to get up. This is my chair, and like here's this guy worth millions, probably going, who talks to me like this? And he was cool, and he sat across from me, and I'm like, hey man, does anyone have some Purell? This guy got cocoa butter all over my chair.
I think I might have been at that show.
Yeah, you might have been. I think Chappelle was there that night as well, and I'm just shitting all over this guy, and I really think he liked that. Like, oh, this white guy doesn't know who I am. He's like keeping it real. So I saw him afterwards at the Comedy Store driveway, and I walked
all
up.
Big meetings are held.
Well, there was definitely some kind of a powwow going on with him and Gerard Carmichael and some of Tyler's, not necessarily bodyguards, but some big dudes who I think look out after him. So I sheepishly walked up to him like, hey man, I don't mean to interrupt, but what I was doing upstairs, it's just a character, so I hope you weren't offended, and I'm sorry. And I can't say what he said, but he said my blank, you my blank.
Wait a minute. You can't say that?
Well, it's the GGA ending, so I don't know if I can necessarily say that, but it rhymes with bigger. But replace the word B with N.
Okay, still lost.
So he said, you my, and I'm like, hey, can I call you that? And his bodyguard's like, no. And then, so I got the call the next day, and
very cool, man.
So that's,
I didn't know that. Congratulations, good for you.
No, that's cool to get on a if it ever were to get on like Adult Swim or Comedy Central, that would be like a big credit for me.
Well, and you see, and what ends up happening, guys like that, they associate with people, and if they like them, they'll continue to work with them. Yeah. So they may bring you into a movie. Congratulations, man. That's a great thing.
Yeah, no, I'm happy, and I'm just trying to build up some credits. But I like going on late night at the store, so I don't necessarily want the credits starting to go on earlier, because I like going on late night.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Me too. Absolutely. I am a little tired of seeing nobody there, though.
Well, I mean, I think the crowds, they peak out after the TV comics go on, and then they probably,
I just don't understand why they never get behind that. It's like, there are people that have fans, and if they built a late night show, I don't know why they don't do it. Never understood that.
Well, of any comedy club in the city, I think the store is the most late night potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's late night people that go up there, but they should build it up and make it like crazy, because I guarantee you what would end up happening, though, is if there's crowds, then these guys that have TV gigs that are comics, they'd stop by and do fallouts, or they'd just do pop-ins.
Right. No, that's true too. So
so maybe it's best that there aren't many people there.
But you have to. I actually think you have to be one of the stronger comics to go on late night. Because
I honestly believe that it is without question the reason I like going up late. It's the hardest thing to do.
Oh yeah, I mean they've seen D'Elia, they've seen Brian Callen, everything. Rogan, Joey Diaz,
Whitney Cummings, anybody they've seen on TV, which is more exciting, because then in their mind, tourists are thinking, well, I don't know who this guy is. He can't be good.
Yeah, I know. So then guys
so they start weeding out.
But then if they stay, I think like the other night, some girl went up to me after the show and said, you and the last guy, she didn't know your name, but just said you guys were the cherry on top.
I don't mean to say anything, but yeah, I hear that a lot too.
So it's, I mean, I go on first every now and then, and it's not bad, but, my humor,
right.
I'm a little, I neuter myself.
People are amazed when I go up early and do well. But you know what? I've always said this. All I'm trying to do is sell myself. If they like you, they're going to follow you anywhere you go. And I do as an exercise. I do shit that's so disgusting that people have to like me to stay there. And I'm lucky. I've kind of learned to do that. So, but yeah, late nights are fun. I'm glad you're part of it. I mean, you've been doing it for a long time, even before you became the paid regular. Late nights are always the best.
Oh yeah, it's fun, and it's
even when you're just sitting in there in the back. Did you see Jason Tebow there last night?
Tebow is back.
Yeah,
it's another guy who hopefully will be passed soon. And
yeah,
he's glad he's figured it out. Got back on track, and
he probably will.
Yeah, I mean, I think Adam
likes him a lot, and
he should have been passed a long time ago, but, probably better that he's hopefully gets passed now, because he's a stronger comic, and, so got his own podcast, I think Punch Drunk.
Yeah. Everybody has a podcast, don't they?
I mean, yeah, that's.
Do you do a lot of other people's podcasts?
I co-host with Rowdy Piper. I co-host his podcast.
How's that going?
Well, I think most wrestling fans like me, but there's been a few that said, "Oh, this guy's the worst."
Really?
So, but it's wrestling fans. But I mean, Piper has me in. As long as Piper likes me, that's all I care
That's
about.
all that matters. It's his podcast. If he feels good with you. Yeah, I remember when he first started, he came over and he became really good friends with Jimmy's cousin, Sal, who's on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And, he actually said, hey, do you want to go over there and help him out a little bit? So when he first came, and I knew that I didn't want to come in the middle of the night. And so, I introduced him to
Simone?
Steve Simone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve Simone. And, he was like a kid in a candy store, loving him.
Well, Piper, like, if you follow pro wrestling, it's like he's like Superman.
Right.
The number one bad guy of all time. By far.
Is he really?
Oh, by far. No one touches him as a bad guy.
He's like the Ron Jeremy of bad guys in wrestling.
Yeah, because he, and you talk about racial angles. There was one angle where he literally, I think he was fighting The Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson.
Right.
And he painted himself half white and half black.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah. They did some wild, the WWF, or now it's WWE, they might be the most racially insensitive company in the history of companies.
Really?
Well, you look at it's funny, you look at some of the racial characters they did, especially in the 80s. You had the Junkyard Dog, who was a black dude who came to the ring in a dog collar and would get on all fours and bark like a dog. And then you had Slick, the manager, who was like a pimp.
Well, as you're saying this, I need to remind people, and for people that don't know who I am, to me, there's one race, and that's the human race. And I,
of course,
try to say that all the time.
But it's just funny. Like, now those characters would never fly. But, they had Kamala, the Ugandan giant, who was like allegedly some savage beast that Vince McMahon flew over from Africa, who couldn't speak English, and he just pounded his belly to communicate. And
who was your favorite wrestler of all time?
I like the Ultimate Warrior, because I met him once, and he's dead. He died last year. So
I would have thought it was Ric Flair.
I like Ric Flair. Oh, there's it's like asking who your favorite football player is.
I could say that.
But who's your favorite football player?
Barry Sanders.
Oh, yeah. But there must be some guys.
There's people that I respect. There's a lot of former Detroit Lions that I loved.
What about Herman Moore?
Herman Moore. I loved Herman Moore. It was like, here's a team that has two unbelievable explosive weapons, Herman Moore and Barry Sanders. They could never get the quarterback that took them to another level.
You mean Eric Hipple wasn't the guy?
Well, I believe at the time. Who was the guy they got from the Dolphins?
Oh,
he was a backup for Moreno got hurt at one point, and he came on and played. So the next year he was the big free agent, and the Lions got Scott Mitchell, right? Scott Mitchell was good, but he wasn't that guy that took a team to another level. And you can go right back to Kenny Stabler. There was a guy. There's a natural leader.
Not the greatest form. No. Kind of had like a sidewinder,
right?
But
he was a great leader, and people got behind him because you believed in that guy. And I think that's a very important thing to have, especially as a quarterback.
Well, as a Steeler fan, and when you got here, we were watching the Steve Bartman 30 for 30.
Even watching it now, if I may just say real quick,
please.
God, I feel sorry for that man.
If you watch that play with, and for those younger fans, the Cub fan fucked up a play and they lost the game and ended up losing the series. There was like 6 other people trying to catch that ball.
Right. Oh, and it's what everyone else was doing. But boy, oh boy, that guy is chased out of Chicago.
Yeah, and he's never done an interview on the...
he's never done one?
And the same thing with Buckner. Everyone... blames Buckner for the Red Sox losing, but they don't talk about the inning before. The guy, the pitcher threw a wild pitch, and the tying run scored. So, Buckner, he was a part of why they lost. But
well, it's just where you can point to. But that guy, I would almost consider him like myself. I'm a huge Detroit Tiger fan. I would do nothing. But if I saw that, and I saw a ball coming at me, he's probably looking up. And he tried to catch it. It wasn't, if he would have gone like this and caught it in the air, that wouldn't have been close. But because he's not an athletic type, he came down there and tried to catch it, and he couldn't even catch it there.
Well, I caught a foul ball once. It ain't that fucking hard.
Did you really?
I was telling you, it was at a Dodger game. Dodgers and the Cincinnati Reds. There's a 3-2 pitch from the Reds pitcher was Jim Kern, and the Dodger batter was Pedro Guerrero.
Jim Kern, who later became like a great closer, maybe for Cleveland.
Yeah, I was a huge Reds fan back then, so I kind of like he probably because he was a pretty good pitcher. And
what year was this?
This was probably early 80s.
Can you look it up, Jim Kern?
Yeah.
See who he played with, because I think that he might have been like a big closer for the Indians at one point. Like he was like maybe an all-star closer.
And I still have the ball upstairs.
Do you really?
Oh, I save everything except for those 4 Super Bowl balls that Art Rooney sent me.
And those are the ones that you went out and played catch with.
Ugh, what a goyim I was.
No, you've always weren't a goyim.
But I was watching the 30 for 30 on that 83 quarterback draft, and it's amazing. And they get to Dan Marino, and the Steelers were supposed to draft him.
Right.
And they interview some scout for the Steelers, and they're like, well, we still had Terry Bradshaw, and we didn't really want to hurt Terry's feelings because we knew we had him for a couple more years. And so they drafted, I think, Gabriel Rivera.
Let me ask you this.
Damn.
In thinking about that draft, what year was it? 83?
83.
So the Super Bowl seasons were over for the Steelers, right?
The 80s, although it's my favorite era for Kiss and the Steelers, were kind of a dark time.
So because like the 1980 Super Bowl was the last time that they were in the Super Bowl. It was the end of the Steelers' huge era.
And then,
but where did they go? Like, what were they? What was their record?
like Louis Lips was their best receiver.
Who was the quarterback?
Well, they went through a few. They had David Woodley, Mike Tomczak, Bubby Brister, Mark Malone, who would literally stare at the receiver for 20 minutes and then throw it to him. Usually, great looking guy, but the Steelers. That's the thing in sports, though. It's like you can't be great, and then you're going to be bad for a while because you don't get the good draft picks, and
that goes through years. Absolutely.
I mean, you look at the Kings.
I think it's different now than it was before because back then, I remember the 1984 Tigers. They won the World Series that year. Started out 35-5, a great start, but in that era, they picked up one big free agent, and they had the core of the team there. Now, a team can. You look at the Marlins. They'd win a World Series. They'd have a clearance sale, and all their great players were gone. But then a few years later, they built it back and won another World Series. Incredible what you can do in sports now.
Jim Kern, he did hit an all-star game. Yes, he was a 29 saves one year.
For Cleveland.
Yes.
It was. So when you caught the foul ball off a pitch that he threw, was it before he was this Cleveland closer?
I want to say it was after. I think the Reds picked him up in the 80s, and I think they made him into a starter.
Really?
From what I remember. But the ball, when I was at my dad's company at season seats, second level, first base side, it went over above my head onto the third level. I don't know what it hit up there. Came back down, hit the guy in the head next to me, and just fell right into my lap. And I was like, probably 13 years old, and everyone's looking at me like, aren't you going to give the ball to the guy who got hit in the head with it? I'm like, fuck that, man. It's welcome to the jungle, baby.
You were still 6 years, almost 7 years before you were fucking at that point.
Yeah, 1989. Same year Kiss released Hot in the Shade, which is a great tour. They came out of the Pharaoh's mouth. It's probably the coolest of the hundreds, thousands of concerts I've been to. That was the best opening ever because the lights, the arena's dark, and then you see this pharaoh's head emerge. It's a big fucking, I mean, it's like takes up the whole stage. And then these laser beams come out of the eyes, and then the mouth opens up, and you see all
What
four
year
members.
was that?
That was 1990 at the Long Beach Arena with Slaughter and Winger opening up for Kiss.
Did they go to Dodger Stadium that year?
Oh, no, they didn't play venues that big till they got back together with the original guys in 98. I was there.
Maybe that's where I saw them, because I know I saw them at Dodger Stadium.
I was there.
Really?
At the 3D show. It was like the shittiest 3D ever.
Yeah.
Of course, Kiss never delivered on anything they said that was going to be the Gene Simmons, our box set's going to be the mother of all box sets. And it was all right. Although I think I was responsible for putting some songs on it.
What do you mean?
Well, one night, my ex-girlfriend still manages the band Motorhead. She was managing Kiss on their convention tour.
What do you mean their convention tour?
Well, it was a little teaser, I think, for Gene and Paul to see if there was interest in getting the original four back. So they would travel the country and do these conventions. Because I think Gene had gotten wind that fans would have their own conventions and they would sell out and people would show their memorabilia. And, hey, I've got, a Vinnie Vincent signed stage-worn T-shirt or whatever. And Gene was like, well, we've got all this shit. Let's just, Gene, if there's $1 to be made. So they started touring the country doing the Kiss convention, and they'd come out and play acoustic songs. And at the one I went to in Burbank, Peter Criss came out toward the end, and the crowd went nuts. And I think that was like a light bulb went off in Gene's head. Oh my God, what if we could get Ace and the whole thing? And, so my ex had helped coordinate that. And long story short, one night we go into Jerry's Deli on Beverly and San Vicente, which is no longer in operation because they had too many gang shootings there.
Yeah.
And Paul Stanley and the current guitar player, who they dress up as Ace, were in a booth. And he saw Shelley and signaled us over. And, small talk. And then Paul's talking about the box set, and Shelley looks at him and goes, well, this is the guy you should ask what should be on it. And I'll never forget the look he gave me. Like, he looks at me, and he didn't say anything, but I knew he was thinking, who the fuck are you to tell me what should be on my box set? And I said, Paul, I know what you're thinking. I'm the guy who's going to buy it. And I gave him a list of songs.
Did you say that to him?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah. Because I said in a cool way. And he's like, well, I can't do a good Paul Stanley impression, but, Craig Gass is the best at that. And he's like, well, what songs do you think should be on it? And I said, listen, people are sick of hearing rock and roll all night in Detroit Rock City and shout it out loud. They want to hear, like, you guys, it's on record, have...
Maybe right now I'm thinking... So a box set, leave these songs off without question. The only songs that people really, really care about, unless you are at the level of Kiss love that you want to suck their dicks.
But to me, like, a box set is like, I mean, Kiss at that point had, rock and roll all night in Detroit Rock City and Shout It Out Loud, Beth. They'd been on at least 6 or 7 Kiss albums.
Absolutely.
So it's like, unless you have demos of those songs that...
which is something that's kind of cool to do. I understand that. And that might have been the way they should have handled it.
And I said, listen, you guys have done at least 3 fully recorded songs probably on every album that didn't get released. People want to hear that, People want to hear the Desmond Child song Time Traveler, which is a song you did with him that wasn't released. And gee, what ends up on the box set? People want to hear that song you did with Wendy O. Williams, It's My Life, which she covered, and gee, what ended up on the box set? And all these, demo songs. The one song that didn't end up on the box set, which I was disappointed, is they did a song called Sword and Stone, which is, for an 80s song, it's pretty good. And a band called Bonfire, a German metal band, sang it instead. But Kiss has a fully recorded version of it. And it's like, people want to hear that.
And how did you know all this shit? Is that how big of a Kiss fan?
Well, I'm a huge Kiss fan. And unlike most Kiss fans, I'm much more a fan of the 80s.
Right, where most of them, their big hits are from the 70s.
Yeah. But I mean, their classic hits are from the 70s, but...
Tell me the biggest hit you think they had of the 80s.
I would say Lick It Up and Heaven's on Fire.
Okay. I know Lick It Up, and I do know Heaven's on Fire, but, if you said to me, hey, listen to these two songs, this is a great band. They'll sell millions of dollars in paraphernalia from their concerts and things like that. And I probably wouldn't go to them.
Well, that was in their, Kiss in the early 80s. They were definitely struggling, at least in America. And, they just...
Have you ever thought of doing a live show?
A live show?
Yes.
I would. I have, but I'm kind of a pussy, and that's where I'll give Dean Del Rey credit. He does live shows, and I know they do well. I'm not...
I'll tell you what you do. First of all, I find myself too much like thinking for next questions. And I'll like say, well, and you, and what I'll do is I'll tighten that up. But it seems like you carry through straight through. It seems like you have your things almost very well planned, even though you're just speaking off the cuff. Do a very good job.
Oh, thank you.
Plus, I'd like to see, then you could get involved with the internet and people asking questions right there. And I would love to see if there is a lot of Kiss fans that would talk about the things that you're talking about and be excited about them. I think the box set thing is a cool story because you actually talked to them and some things that you said, they may have listened to you because of it.
I mean, it's high, I'm probably giving myself too much credit, but I mean...
And you may, but you know what? Maybe not, because how many people really know that? And what you were saying makes legitimate sense. I mean, it's one of the things that I know that U2, when they made the film Rattle and Hum, which I think is a great movie. Have you ever seen it?
Bits and pieces.
Okay. Anyway, in that movie, they had like celebrities come on. Like I know that Bruce Springsteen did a song with them, but they didn't put it in the movie. I would love to see all that kind of stuff. Or even if they put it on an album of some kind, I would love to hear that. It's never come out. And you had that knowledge that it was there. And I'll bet you a lot of people don't know that.
Well, I mean, it's like assuming, you say to yourself, okay, well, who's Kiss marketing that particular box set to? Kiss fans.
Right.
It's not like they're trying to get people like Adam, the talent coordinator, and Nick Youssef to buy that, who they aren't big Kiss fans. They're going after me. And I've already got Rock and Roll All Night, literally 7, 8 records.
But you know what you do is I think that the good ones, like you said, to hear a cut of, songs that you never heard before of the big hits, that's a good thing to put in there. But, I think if you're doing like a box set, you want the biggest hits in there no matter what.
But I think they have to be a different, there was one song, I think God of Thunder, which is a big Kiss song. It's not a hit, but it's a big song. From the classic lineup, there's a version of Paul singing it instead of Gene. Put that on. That'd be kind of cool to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're that big of a fan.
Put, Gene singing a Paul song, I think, Shandy, which was, I just can't pretend no more. I keep running out of lies. Loving you is killing me inside.
You know what I'd love to do if you were live right now? I would like to ask the fans, has anyone ever heard that song? Or is Earl the first time you heard anybody sing that?
Oh, no, I was, big, not hit, but, that was Kiss trying to sound like the Cars.
Would you say that I have musical knowledge?
Oh, by far and away, but your knowledge is far superior to mine. And people accuse me sometimes of being an ass kisser on this show, but my knowledge is, for the most part, strictly to a 7 or 8 year period.
Right, exactly.
Yours is 50s to now.
Right. And one of the things that what I'm actually thinking, I know Kiss very well. Like on my iPod, I have every song that Kiss even put out there. I don't have deep cuts, but I have every song that Kiss even tried to release, even in the 80s so I'm sure that I have that song in there, but that does not ring a bell at all right there for me. And I'm not like a complete idiot when it comes to their music.
Oh, no. That was like I think it was the first single they released off of Unmasked, and the big thing about that was in the video, it was Peter Criss's last appearance in Kiss makeup.
Really?
Even though he didn't play on the album. Thank you, Anton Fig, who also drummed on Dynasty.
Okay.
Peter Criss checked out pretty early.
Was Dynasty, that was the one with
I Was Made
the
for Loving
disco
You.
one? Yeah.
That started the Desmond Child, Paul Stanley collaboration.
Really?
So, because he co-wrote the song.
Kiss, he wrote I Was Made for Love.
He co-wrote it with Paul. So
I actually know that went to number 12 on the Billboard charts, I believe.
It was
See if I'm right.
I don't
look up Wikipedia on your computer. Look up Kiss Wikipedia, and then go to
I believe Kiss's biggest hit was and this is the funny thing, Michael Bolton co-wrote a song, Forever.
Was that their biggest song? It might have been. I think it was definitely a top 10 song.
Kiss never had a lot of radio hits. They were strictly a live.
Go to Wikipedia. I'd like to see this.
Tell us about the Ding Dong Show. Well, I the one thing I don't like is dead air on this show. So while I'm typing, I can't do two things.
No. I was going to go a different route, but if you want me to,
go what route you were going.
No, I was going to talk about music for a second, but I'd be more than happy to talk about the Ding Dong Show. I'm really surprised that we don't have more people that come to that damn thing.
It's pretty packed most weeks.
It's pretty packed, but it's not like other shows there. Like, I think part of it is because no waitress comes up during our show, but our sales of alcohol are not that good. But we do have a lot of people. But that's one regret that I have. Why are people not coming to the Ding Dong Show more?
All right, let me read this. I'll just read you the Wikipedia, and then we could delve into it. I Was Made for Loving You is a song by American hard rock band Kiss, released on the 79 album Dynasty. It was released as the A-side of the first single from the album. On the B-side was Hard Times. And let me see where it doesn't...
I wonder if that song played a lot in discos.
Oh, yeah, it was huge. It was co-written by Desmond Child and Vinnie Poncia. And
who is Vinnie Poncia?
It reached number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Number 11. Wow.
He was a producer who a lot of Kiss fans aren't fond of because he worked on Dynasty and then Unmasked, which is seen as the beginning of Kiss's downfall. And then The Elder, which Kiss wrote a song with Lou Reed on.
Really?
Well, Kiss, as you know, they've always followed the trends. They've never stayed to their roots, which is too bad, because if they would have, they probably would have ended up making more money. But,
more money than Kiss. There's a possibility that Kiss could have made more money than
absolutely. Kiss reminds me very much of a gym I used to work at. It's probably the only day job I've ever had in my life. And to show you what this gym's mental capacity, I was actually the nighttime manager toward the end of my run there. And they would sign up on average, long story short, 10 to 20 members a day. I mean, it was amazing. It was a huge, it was the gym where they filmed that John Travolta movie, Perfect.
Okay. Where is that located?
Ocean Park and 31st.
I thought that was
Sports
they did that up here.
Well, the aerobic scenes in that movie were filmed at the West Hollywood Club, which is right down there.
Okay, maybe that's what I was informed of.
But this gym made tons of money, but machines always broken. Members would complain. And the gym's attitude was, listen, you don't like the gym, go somewhere else because we got 10 people signing up tomorrow. So we actually don't want you here. That was basically the jacuzzi's not working. Hey, fuck off. Who cares? And I think that's Kiss's problem. It's like, yeah, we're going to, disco's big. We're going to put out a disco album. The Cars are big. We're going to put out basically a Cars album. Pink Floyd's doing The Wall. We're going to put out The Elder. And their hardcore fans are like, what is this? And listen, you don't like it? We got 10 people signing up tomorrow. And I think if this gym would have fixed the jacuzzi and fixed the bikes, they would have not only had 10 people signing up, but they would have had everyone renewing their memberships. And I think if Kiss would have stayed a little more to their...
What's that gym now?
It's still in business. And, Kiss is still in business. But, and I think especially right now, instead of putting out fucking Kiss condoms and rubbers and, Kiss coffee shops and Kiss theme parks and Kiss fucking pencils.
Are they in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's becoming more and more prestigious? I know that they put out, like this year on HBO, I think it was, they put it out like a week after it happened, the ceremony for the induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they never did that before. Not before, but at the beginning, they didn't have access to that. And I love that kind of stuff. Did you watch that? Do you watch stuff like that, or don't you care?
Well, I did with the Kiss one, but they didn't play because they hate each other, the four guys. Paul wanted he wanted the current guys to play too. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was like, no, we want just you, Gene, Ace, and Peter. And Paul's like, well, I want Eric and Tommy up there too. And, we'll do a couple songs. And, they're like, no, it's just the original four.
Really?
So they didn't even play. But I don't know when Deep Purple's not in, when, who else isn't in? I think Dio is not in. And I'm not just saying metal acts, but like, when you see some band, the Cars aren't in, I don't know how.
Cars were spectacular.
And they, they had a long enough career, I think, where they should be in. 5
top favorite bands of all time.
I would say, let's see, Kiss, the Cars.
And is this in the order?
No, it's like someone asked me the other day, name your top 5 guitar players, and it's just no order. I just, I can't pick.
Can you name 5 bands?
Yeah, Rat.
Really, your favorite 5?
Oh yeah, but I also grew up when Rat was in their prime, and then
how long was their prime though?
They probably had like a 3-year, like where they were like the biggest metal band, and
really
from like 84 to 86.
Really?
I mean, round and round.
I might disagree with that, and I'm trying to think.
But I'm saying biggest metal. I'm not saying they were bigger than Springsteen.
No, of course not.
I'm saying, you gotta like
big metal band, but there was other metal. Who else?
There was other band like Quiet Riot and Motley Crue and
Crue. Yeah, they were.
But I think Rat had like their initial 2.5-year run. They were all over MTV and sold out arenas, and
because they always tried to make wacky music videos.
Well, they had the first 2 with Milton Berle, and that was that's kind of cool. And then they kind of
didn't they go to the same guy from Animal House?
Oh, I don't think so.
Or was that Twisted Sister the ones that did that?
Oh, no, Twisted Sister did the ones with Niedermeyer.
Yeah, with Niedermeyer.
And
wasn't Niedermeyer in any Rat videos? You'd know instantly. Okay, then I was wrong.
The great thing about the Twisted Sister one, they did a second one with Niedermeyer, I Want to Rock. And at the end, it's basically showing Niedermeyer get, thrown through the basketball, getting blown up, and he walks up to the principal's office, and Flounder turns around and goes, "Oh boy, is this gonna be great." But then what killed Twisted Sister was they did a cover of Leader of the Pack, which Bobcat Goldthwait from Windy City Heat was in it.
Yes.
And Luke Perry, I think it was his first acting gig, if you want to call it an acting gig. And then the video was so bad, and it was like, Twisted. It was very Kiss. It was a very Kiss move. Like, here's this. Twisted Sister was 10 years in the New York club circuit, basically Metallica-like. And then they made this video where it's like they're doing a 50s cover song. It was like, what is this?
Well, it just somebody always has a bad decision. Do you know the Billy Squier bad decision? What was that, real quick?
I don't know it.
Really?
I know of the Rat bad decision.
Okay, well, Billy Squier was maybe the biggest guy in the world. He had that album come out and everything. Then he came out and he was wearing, in the music video, it was at the time of Flashdance.
Right.
And so that open neck sweatshirt was the thing. And he was wearing a pink open neck sweatshirt. And his fans just hated it.
Yeah, I mean, and the video was really gay.
Yeah, really
He was
bad.
like humping the floor or something, and it's crazy. That was one wrong decision can literally kill your career.
I would like to mention, you mentioned Bobcat Goldthwait, who, did direct Windy City Heat, and he did such a great job and was so unbelievably wonderful. What are you doing? Clicking your fingers?
Applause.
Oh, really? Okay. But he was such a great guy, and he was such a big star. And the thing that I found out about him that's maybe the coolest thing, Kurt Cobain fell in love with Bobcat Goldthwait. And Bobcat opened for Nirvana a lot.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he went on the road with Nirvana. So I just think that's just such a cool little thing for him. All right, here it is. Here's the question. Now, you've mentioned two. The rest of your life, the only music you can listen to the bands that you can pick 5 bands. But like, let's say that somebody left and started another band. Like if you said Nirvana, you could take, because Dave Grohl went on,
Foo Fighters.
Yeah. So you could take Nirvana and get the Foo Fighters too. But you have 5 bands.
Let's say Van Halen. And you could take, the David Lee Roth spinoff band, which was great, and Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Gary Sharon.
Oh, Extreme. Who, for my money, they did, when Queen had their big concert after Freddie Mercury died, I thought that Extreme, they did this thing where they played, what was their big song? More Than Words? Right. And it went into the song Love of My Life, or vice versa. It either went Love of My Life by Queen into More Than Words, or the other way around. But they were just spectacular. So you've got Van Halen, you've got Kiss.
Rat.
The
Cars. And then, I had the 5th band. I mean, I love Bowling for Soup.
Really?
Because I like their sense of humor. Like, they don't take themselves seriously, but
you're listening to music. You're not seeing their sense of humor.
But I get, they're almost like that band Steel Panther, who parodies the 80s.
Right.
They're like parodying. I like bands with a sense of humor. That you don't go to a Bowling for Soup concert and walk out going, "What were they singing about?"
Yeah.
You just have. I like fun bands. It's like I like fun movies. So Boston, I like. If I had to pick a 5th band, I like
really
Boston.
Wow.
I like more the voice, Brad Delp.
Have you ever met my friend? He knows him very well.
Oh, Jeff Myro.
Yeah, Jeff Myro. And he actually has a song with Brad Delp that he recorded. He wrote it and Brad Delp recorded it for him.
Yeah, it's really good.
You've heard it?
Yeah, I've had it. He gave me
that's kind of cool. So I don't think that many people even know who Brad Delp is. If somebody, and it really is, because he was great. If you think that Tom Schultz guy did everything, played everything. The only thing he couldn't do, and he brought Brad Delp in to do that part.
I actually, right behind me is 2 autographed drumsticks that Jeff got me from Sib, the drummer.
I got some stuff from Sib too.
Sibby.
That Jeff, he really knows how to market himself.
But Rat's bad decision was they could have been on the Top Gun soundtrack. But did that do something for those bands? I know there's a few songs. Berlin, I think, probably still tours today off of that one song that became such a hit. I mean, I'm not saying they would have been
away. Right. Well,
Led Zeppelin, but
no. But on that, they had a big song. It was good for them. And if Rat would have been in there, would they have had one of the songs that was like a hit? I think Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins was the huge, well, actually, because the Berlin song was a #1 song too. And they would have made money from the album, but was it clearly their biggest mistake?
What was a song called Body Talk, which is very high energy. They would have put it in one of the flight sequences.
Really?
Instead, they did Eddie Murphy's The Golden Child.
Oh, really?
Which, kind of bombed out.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, Eddie Murphy's the biggest star in the world at that time, or one of them.
Yeah. And that was a big mistake for him because in every movie before, he was playing off somebody that was great. 48 Hours, Nick Nolte, Beverly Hills Cop. There was funny all around. He wasn't the only funny thing. I remember even Damon Wayans had funny in there. You walked out of that theater, and most people, Damon Wayans was in that? But go back and watch Beverly Hills Cop and you'll see him. Then he thought, okay, now I'm a superstar. Now I will go on. I will be the entire movie. And it just didn't work for some reason.
Kiss has probably made many bad decisions that we're not aware of, but
I'm sure. Okay, so those are your 5, huh?
My 5. Billy Idol. I'd like to sneak in Billy Idol in there.
Okay, that's 6. Who do you throw out?
Well, probably Bowling for Soup, and then
you were at 4 before Bowling for Soup. I thought you replaced it with Boston.
Then I'd have to replace Boston with Billy Idol. I like him. I think Billy Idol is Billy Idol and Steve Stevens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you know what was kind of cool when you say that, because I still think the energy of the guitar solo in
Rebel
Yell is just a great moment for rock and roll. And when they were on Kimmel, there's Steve Stevens. And I'm literally as far as away from you as I was from Steve Stevens that night. And it was funny because I at one point was sitting up on the stage beside everybody, and there was a girl, thin as a rail, huge breasts, looked pretty weather beaten. And guess what? Steve Stevens' girlfriend.
Well, she's actually going to be responsible for getting him on this podcast.
Really?
I think that's his wife, Josie Stevens.
Good. Well, hopefully he wasn't with another.
No, I think it was her.
Yeah. Wow.
I reached out to her on Twitter and recently and said, hey, I know, do you think Steve would ever come on my podcast in West Hollywood? Because I believe he lives around here. And she's like, yeah, he'll do it.
Really?
They're in Europe.
See, that's the crazy thing. You're lucky as hell. I don't even know who to ask.
Well, I just took a shot. I mean...
Yeah, but you've taken a lot of shots, and you've got, to get Bobby Brown on there, to get Stephen Percy. He was on here, right?
Well, it took me 4 months to get him. But
yeah, well...
He was great, though.
You finally got him.
But, like, Steve Stevens is, like, someone you just associate with Billy Idol, but, like... His career in the music industry goes way beyond that. Like,
and didn't he do a solo song?
He did a solo album.
The song on we were talking about.
Well, Michael Jackson's. He did the solo on Dirty Diana.
Right, but he also we were talking about
Top Gun.
Top Gun. He was in there.
He did the best
instrumental.
Him and Harold Faltermeyer did a great instrumental, and it's the part where Tom Cruise throws the dog tags in the ocean, and then the guitar hits.
It is so funny how you know just certain things and you have every detail of that.
And they did a great video. I mean, the videos they made back then, I mean, on this video alone must have cost $1 million. Just they rented out this huge hangar. They've got all these fighter pilot jets, and Steve Stevens is in various outfits. And just, you could tell this video cost someone a lot of money, but it was a big hit. So,
that music industry, I don't know if I've ever told this story to you. Tell me if I have. I ever told you the Huey Lewis Ghostbusters story?
Well, tell it to the fans. You have, but I think the fans who haven't heard it would find it interesting.
No, have I said it on this show before?
No, I don't think you have.
Okay. It's kind of an interesting thing. At the time, and I was very lucky to be kind of like a fly on the wall. Jimmy had an after-show dinner, and Huey Lewis was there. And what was wonderful about it is he starts telling stories about the We Are the World session. I mean, how cool is that? But then he talked about the Ghostbusters story, and they came to him. They approached him. He had just done the Back to the Future, where he played he was an actor, but he also did the music for that, and he had done some other stuff. And they approached him about doing the theme song for Ghostbusters. And he said, "No, I'm a little bit busy." So what they did, Ray Parker Jr. came in and did Ghostbusters, which was basically, I think it was the exact music to "I Want a New Drug." So he went out there, they took it from him, he sued them, he won like a few $1,000,000. But if you look at the song Ghostbusters, what that did for that movie, because that might have been the peak of power of MTV, and that song was on MTV all the time, and it was just a video that people loved, and I'm sure it sold tickets. At least it got out there. So the movie company, you won't do it, then we'll just take your music.
Well, welcome to Hollywood, Huey.
I think he's done all right, though.
And Ray Parker.
Ray Parker Jr. Ray Parker Jr. I don't want people to be confused with you're saying that about his father.
Dave Parker?
No, Ray Parker Sr.
Oh, well, no.
You just said Ray Parker, and I didn't want the confusion to last in there.
I play loose with the facts on this podcast.
Do you?
Which is what's really on the wrestling podcast with Piper, the fans get all over me when I get a fact wrong.
Oh, really?
And I do sometimes. I get caught up in being in a room with one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Is it cool as can be doing that?
I mean, it's a lot of work just because, this podcast takes a lot of work. I'm not on a network, so I produce it, edit it.
Do you edit it? How much editing will you do on this show?
Oh, with this one, I'll do none. I'll leave it all on. But, you still have to put the opening song on, the closing song on. You make sure it blends, leads out and end at the right, it probably takes 20 minutes to, get it up and download it and all that
I would
stuff.
love you to see what I do.
But, I mean, it's... I know the work you do. I mean,
it's just I go through the entire show. I take out every pause. There's a pause. I tighten it up.
I don't. I'm like the Cinderella live album at the Key Club where they left every mistake in, and I love it. There was a couple songs like the guitar.
Did they start over ever?
No.
There was a CD. I think it was the best of Unplugged. They did a version with Paul McCartney that they put out there that Paul McCartney forgot the words. So he started over again. And they put that on that CD. I thought that was pretty cool.
I like stuff like that.
Yeah, I do too. It's like you said, if you put a box set together, let's get some songs that are either deep cuts or demos of huge songs to see how much they changed. I love that stuff. As a matter of fact, I've been trying to find a CD. I don't know if it is, but it was Pete Townsend. He put out some CD and he had a lot of stuff with demos of like very famous Who songs. I'd love to get that. Do you like the Who?
Oh yeah, they're really good. My friend right now is the bass player for Roger Daltrey when he does his solo.
It's funny. There's a guy that used to work at the Comedy Store as a piano player that's a piano player for Roger Daltrey.
Okay.
Or at least went on tour, so he probably knows. Is there a possibility you may have said something to me about that a long time ago? Because Roger Daltrey made an appearance on Kimmel and he sang by himself. No, so he had that band. So maybe I saw him there.
Well, my buddy, he's the great Jamie Hunting. He looks just like Steven Tyler. Like... it's amazing bass player. Just you talk about a guy who should he could play anything. Just 12-string bass. He plays it like a band. He's super talented.
Speaking of super talented, I was mentioning a little while ago how I'm admiring the way you just talk and you seem to flow everything very smooth. Do you think you can do that because you've never taken drugs or?
Well, probably, and. This podcast is done like my comedy. Like I never plan, because I want, I want things to appear like they are coming off the top of my head.
Let's say that when Bobby Brown was here, did you do any preparation for that?
Well, I read her book. The book probably took me 3 days to read the book. It's like 200-300 pages. And
and then I thought to myself, ooh, icky.
Right. But she brought her boyfriend. She was cool, nice enough to do the show, and very friendly, but she brought her boyfriend with her, and I get it. She probably.
Are you kidding me? For God's sake, somebody, how easy. Yeah, I want you to come over to my house for a podcast. Oh, but it's best if you come alone.
Well, I didn't say that.
I know.
It's like I read her book thinking, oh, I want her to be impressed. Whenever I have someone like that, like I try and talk to you about not just Windy City Heat, but not just the Comedy Store, music and other things. And with someone like Bobby Brown, I say to myself, okay, she's probably been asked about the cherry pie video and Star Search a zillion times. Let me read her book so I can at least ask her some
what was something interesting about her that you didn't know going into it, and then you read the book and thought, whoa.
Well, I mean, she has a great story about one night she goes over to Dave Navarro's house, and right there, it's going to be a good story. And,
Do you like that guy?
I'm always a member at the same gym he's at, and he's always nice to me. I mean, we're not buddies. Hey, what's up, dude? He's quiet. I watch his show, Ink Master.
I've never seen Ink Master.
It's a tattoo show. He's like the judge.
Oh, he is. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And
so Dave Navarro.
So she goes over to Dave Navarro's house, opens up the door. Dave Navarro's fucking her best friend at the time, who she didn't know they were together. I guess he comes or whatever, kicks her out. Bobby Brown sits down, and then Dave Navarro sits down next to her and starts jacking off. And that's a great story. I mean, I don't know where I would take that. I would bring up that story and let her roll with it, but with the boyfriend right there, I was like, okay. Well.
It's funny. I do the exact same thing.
Well, I mean,
I'll just sit by somebody. That's the reason I get them kind of crazy. I'll start jerking off right beside them. I do that at the Comedy Store a lot.
Oh, well, I've jacked off once in the OR.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
You guys were all in the other room, I think hanging out, whatever, and there was some big titted girl in there, and she was I think we had kissed or something, and she left, and then I just rubbed one out on the.
Was the show still going on?
No, it's complete. It was after hours.
Boy, those after hour days were the best.
Yeah, one picture on Facebook just ruined it all.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, there was a manager. He later got fired for this. That loved the band, the BKO, so he'd love to have that. And there was a lot of people that loved to gamble, including him. So in one room, the main room, you would have this basically gambling casino. In the other room, the BKO were playing music. And it was kind of fun. People were hanging out all night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'd have several nights where we would come out when the sun was up.
Oh.
And then someone posted the picture on Facebook. It got back.
Who was that? Do you know?
I don't really know, to be honest with you.
Do. It's one of two girls.
Right. And so
do you know who I'm referring to?
I think so, yeah. I won't say their name.
One of them kept your secret, so.
Well, my secret is I don't have one. So, but I know to this day you still think I slept with this girl.
Absolutely,
I swear on my comedy career, my name anything of value to me. I never touched her.
The picture of you and your sister.
I swear on anything. I swear on that TV, which means the world to me.
Does it really? Are you really, really into that TV? 75-inch?
75-inch, high def. And if you remember my last TV.
Yes.
Even the DirecTV guy, when he came over to get my new receiver, but I still had the old TV, he's like, why do you have your TV set to night vision?
Did you?
No, it was just the bulb was,
and it looked like night vision. I see what you're saying.
Well, watching football on it was amazing because the green was just popped. But then watching hockey, and the last time you were over here, I don't know if you remember, but the Kings beat the Chicago Blackhawks Game 7.
I do remember that because
we had it on the whole time.
Right. Didn't we watch it before?
We did.
Before it started? Yeah.
And Alex Martinez figured a Mexican would get the Kings into the Stanley Cup and won the cup for them that year. So I don't think Donald Trump was happy with that. But
no, he wasn't. By the way, I have to tell you, I love how brash Donald Trump is. And, at this moment that we're talking right now, not only is he... The polls say that he is the top guy in the Republican Party. He is the top guy right now for president.
I mean, I just want to see him and Chris Christie get into the debates because they don't like each other. But I
have a feeling. Well, Neil Leeds wants to become his vice president running mate, and he's been saying this long before he even announced becoming president. So we've been following that quite a bit, and actually, Neil Leeds was a little upset. And I think partially because the people that come to his Leeds mattresses usually are the people that Donald Trump was putting down. But I have to say, well, he was telling me, and I think this is true, he has to pay money to run for president. And what they have to do is they have to go through all of his assets, and they have to figure out how much money he has. And everybody has to do that. It's getting close to... he has 45 days to pay or to go through it to let them see. He hasn't done it yet, but he can file an extension for a second 45 days. I have a feeling Donald Trump's going to drop out at the end of the second 45 days.
He's not. This is publicity, and
it's great publicity.
Oh yeah, it's like he's like he reminds me a lot of Gene Simmons. I'm this. I got more money than you. My hair's real. That's his campaign platform,
right?
My hair is real. I've got more money with you and these beaners, or
It was just he has a history of just Rosie O'Donnell, just how he just viciously attacked her.
A pig.
Why would I listen to this pig? What can she tell me?
I mean, look at her face. I mean, she's disgusting. I mean, I think he's great.
I think he's wonderful.
I mean,
I wouldn't want to be on his bad side. And I loved when Macy's took his suits out of their shop, all their stores. You think it probably means nothing. It was probably originally just some guy came up, hey, if we call it Donald Trump ties, we can put it in all these places. He just made money. He didn't give a shit about that. But then he immediately starts texting. Let me tell you this. I know for a fact Macy's does nothing for our border control at all. What a ridiculous clown, but it's so damn funny.
Yeah, I mean, he's a carnival huckster, I think anyone who has to say, look how much money I have, probably doesn't have as much as you think. Like, you never hear Warren Buffett say, I've got a lot of money.
The one thing I do hear is that even his throwing out all the money he has, he really doesn't have a lot of money.
Well, I mean, like, you never hear Bill Gates say, I got more money.
No, you don't.
Warren Buffett.
But you know what? But I don't think they're his personality. I think if he had the money, I think he'd still do it. But from what I understand, he doesn't have the money.
I mean, like the guys who have big dicks, you never really hear most of them say, I got to be, just everyone knows.
Yeah, I think that's not true.
Not in my case, but I mean...
You kind of brag about it all the time. I think things really opened up last night when we saw your headshot.
But I mean, most people...
The most famous headshot.
In the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Lexington Steele, I've never once heard that guy brag about his dick. Just, Well,
Ron
Jeremy,
But people say that. And you know what? He does say it. I've heard Ron Jeremy talk about how big his dick was.
But I mean, I guess my point is, like, if you got a lot of money, most of the times you got a big dick, you get a lot of pussy. The good ones don't brag about it. Like Gene Simmons, I'm sure he sleeps with a lot of girls. I'm sure he does. But I bet you it's not nearly as many as he says. Kiss record sales. His big thing was the solo albums all sold platinum, which, on the same day they were released.
Right.
And, it was kind of true, but not true because they shipped platinum.
Right. They shipped platinum because they thought, and then there were so many of those albums that turned into the cutout bins.
But so, I think, I don't know. I just find that, the funniest comics, to me, you never hear Mark Maron say, I'm a funny you just people, that's a funny comic. You never, I think if you have to brag, you're hiding something.
I see that you have Mark Maron's book right over there. Are you a big fan of his?
I'm a fan. I don't know if I'm not like a super fan, but he's, I admire him because he's a comic to me who made it when he was a little older. And I like the fact that when he started his podcast, his manager at the time said, "Don't do it. There's no money in podcasting."
No.
So he's like someone I look up to and go. And I don't put myself on his level, but
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you're saying.
He's someone who go, "Oh, you can make it when you're not the new, fresh face."
Yeah,
of comedy
absolutely.
Or whatever.
And you know what? He went through a lot of shit.
And he's someone you started with at the Comedy Store.
Absolutely.
So
I remember when he came there. I wish I could find this picture. I remember myself and another guy. We just laid on each other, and we took this picture where I'm on the bottom, and it just goes up, and there's Mark Maron. I wish I could find a lot of those pictures.
Weren't you on his What the Fuck podcast?
Yes, I was.
That's a big deal. I mean,
is it really?
To me, it is. Like, it's pretty neat. I mean,
yeah. I mean, a lot of people heard it. A lot of people approached me about it after. So I guess that's cool because that's what you're trying to do. I don't know if I picked up like Twitter fans. He isn't the type of guy that you're sitting there and he's like, well, let's see, what can I help you promote? I don't think he gives a shit about that. He's just doing a story. But you know what? Fine. You get your Twitter name mentioned out there and boom. If somebody picks up on it, they pick up on it. Because I think that's what this whole game is. Get it as many Twitter followers as you can.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know when, Jeff Ross or Rob Schneider or like the Iron Sheik retweeted one of my stand-up links. It got like thousands of views and like literally, an hour.
Really?
Stephen Piercy, he's got like 30,000 fans on Twitter. He said, here's a link to a podcast I just did. It got like literally 500 views in like 1 minute.
Really?
Which is a lot for me.
Absolutely. It's a lot for anybody.
But I mean, to someone like Rogan who gets like 50,000 downloads a week,
it's unbelievable. You see that entire world. You see the Red Band taking these shows that like, wow, and they're getting 3 times the numbers I get.
Well, it's just, you get like Hinchcliffe and Del Rey went on the Rogan show and they got, big bumps in their, numbers. And, I don't know Joe well enough to get on, but, I do buy his supplements from his company, though.
Do you really?
He's got, well, they're not traditional supplements like amino acids, and they're more like mind.
Like from that movie type of mind control?
Well, not mind. They're like it's called Onnit, ONNIT, nutrition, and it's more the receptors in your brain that control your feelings. And I do notice a difference.
Really?
I mean, I'm not like they're not a cure for like depression, but like I think they give you more good feelings.
You know what I wish I could do? I wish I could come on a podcast like this and every feeling that I have, every person that we mention, I love Joe Rogan, so let's not think Joe Rogan that this is where the idea sprung from. Joe Rogan has been nothing but nice to me. Joe Rogan has mentioned me many times on his podcast.
Big fan of he always talked, like him and Brian Callen once talked about you late night at the store.
Yeah, and it was just, so he's always been, so when I say this, I'm not talking about Joe Rogan. I didn't want anybody to think that because I really do like Joe Rogan for all those things.
Oh, he's amazing.
Absolutely. But I wish that I could just sit here and with you because I know you so well and I know the bullshit that goes up and names that are mentioned and talk about every person.
But I mean, when I bring up like Tony and Del Rey, they are... they had their own podcasts, and I don't know how they were doing, but my point is they went on Rogan's thing, and then just thousands of fans went to their thing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the Joe Rogan world has
Duncan,
Ari, Sam Tripoli, all those guys just benefit. Even Jason Tebow, all those guys just went to another level because they were part of that world.
And even the MMA fighter Brendan Schaub. He's like basically I don't know if he's a co-host, but he's on Rogan. Even though he's popular in the UFC world, his profile is raised big time by Rogan's.
It's just unbelievable. Yeah. And the great thing, and I actually was saying this to Joe recently, what a life he has set for himself.
Oh, what a great...
He can try. His name is big enough. He's almost at the point of Mark Maron as far as like being able to do shows that people are impressed with. To get on his show is a special little thing.
Oh, yeah.
It helps anybody's career, so people want to do a show because people will hear that. So he's got that, but beyond that, he can go out, he can say, I'm going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma on this date. Within hours, that place sells out.
Or even like this weekend, especially when there's a big UFC card, which this weekend there's a huge one.
Right.
In Vegas, he can do a theater show on Friday, sold out, and then Vegas, Saturday.
He doesn't need anyone in his life. He can make a living 100% with nobody helping him out. But because he's an actor, he can also, if he wants to, he can act. If somebody says something to him and they know he's still there because they know his podcast and they know him from UFC.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm just striving for.
Really?
Well, I mean, not to necessarily be as big as Rogan or Maron, but like, going back to what Schneider said, just, maybe Inappropriate Earl, maybe, I don't know, Spike TV says, hey, we like the way you interview and we like that you don't necessarily go after like mainstream guests. You're going after, like these almost bizarre type guests from 20 years ago. Like that could be an interesting hook for a not late night talk show, but like, I don't know, something that, could help me get bigger numbers.
Oh, absolutely.
But, Chris D'Elia said he would come on, so I would get someone like him on because,
do you know him well?
I would say we're very good acquaintances. I mean, I don't know if he would consider me a friend, but I knew him when he was just before he blew up. So nice guy.
In the world, is he blown up really big? Is he really a big star now?
I think he is.
Is he?
I mean,
I don't know. The show he's on, is it popular?
Oh yeah, it's just bringing it back for a third season. I mean, this is the second show in a row where he's been in billboards all over the country. So he's because he can act. That's I think that's a lot of problems that comics fall into.
They can't act.
Like I don't know Dane Cook at all, but I mean, I think he obviously was the biggest guy in the world for a while, and I don't know necessarily he could act.
I'll tell you this: he did a pretty darn good job in the movie Windy City Heat.
Oh yeah, that might have been his best role.
He actually said one time he gets people to talk about that more than any other thing he's shot.
Well, it's a classic. He beat out Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. It hasn't done a lot for me. I mean, it's done some things, but boy, oh boy, you think that you get something and you take it to another level. Very frustrating.
Yeah, well, it's a wacky business, man.
But you know what? The only time you're officially out is when you quit.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have quit in me.
I'm too dumb to quit.
Yeah. What else are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, where else can you like make $15 an hour and
live?
Not even an hour. But
and
like
live.
15 minutes. It's a pretty good ratio, $1 a minute. And get...
Not really, when you think about it.
Well, I mean, that'd be $60 an hour. That'd be a pretty good gig. If you...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Prorate it,
Well, if you said $1 a minute.
Well, basically 15 minutes, $15.
Okay, all right.
And then unless you're in the main room on the weekend, then I got one main room check. I was like, oh, wow, man, this is pretty good.
Yeah, so they don't put me in the main room at all anymore.
Well, that's because you're an OR staple.
Yeah, but I could do well in the main room.
Oh, no, it's not. I don't think it's that. I think it's more like they need someone to close out the OR and,
I'll tell you something. I just don't think I don't think they respect me at all. I really don't.
Like, what do you mean? The managers?
I just think the whole thing. I just, the fact that, I look at this. I go in there when there's you see dead people lying around that couldn't make it out in time, might have been shot. So by the time I get up, there's not a lot of people there. And a lot of people are really tired. And I do a pretty good job of holding them there. Whether, whatever the hell I'm doing, I'm keeping them there. And it just makes you think, how can they not see that? How can they not understand that?
Well, I don't think if it's any solace that I don't think anyone else could close it out like you do every night. So, because you could go on earlier in the show and I mean, would you want to do just 15 minutes?
No, I don't even know what 15 minutes is.
A lot of people don't up there.
Yeah, but
holy fuck, man. You talk about something that's frustrating, that's probably the number one thing.
I think that what's frustrating is when I see the show's way behind. I see that they've had 4 guys do pop-ins, and it's 1:00, and there's still 6 people to go, and those 6 people get up there and they do 22 minutes.
More light running than Rodney King on a fucking Hyundai.
Oh, way to bring that in there.
Well, it's like, come on, man.
But that's actually out of your time zone.
92. I was still on the tail end of the peak.
Okay.
I mean, listen, if he would have stopped, they wouldn't have beat the shit out of him. I mean,
no, they wouldn't have.
I remember my buddy who wrote for Soldier of Fortune. He came over to my house when the riots were happening, and he gave me this huge machete knife. And he's like, "Here, take it. You might need it in case they come." I'm like, "Who's they?" And I won't say what he said, but he's like, "Don't worry about it."
Do you remember anything about that? I mean,
oh yeah.
I here's what I remember. I was at a friend's place, and we were actually getting weed, and the TV was on, and who was the truck driver?
Reginald Denny.
Reginald Denny. They pulled out and started beating him. I said, "Oh my God, this thing has gone to another level." And I was living near the intersection of La Brea and Sunset at the time. And at the time, I don't know if you remember, they had an appliance store in that little mall where the 7-Eleven is. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, where Ross is now.
Yeah, Ross is there now. But I remember driving by with him, and people had come up, and I looked over there, and a lot of them didn't look like normal people that hung out at that place. Oh no, they're going to get this place. And I remember driving back. I remember driving from there, which is La Brea. I drove up to maybe Vine and said, "You know what? They may be coming around here. We should get someplace in case some bad shit happens." I went back, and we went back. They had already broken in, and you're seeing people run with stereos, TVs, everything they could get, and the cops did nothing.
Well, I mean, that was when I was living at that Century City building with Steven Adler, so I knew they weren't getting there. I mean,
yeah,
they'd have to fight through the Beverly Hills cops, and they were not letting that.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
So I lucked out in that, and I was on the 19th floor, so I didn't think I was in danger. But my Soldier of Fortune buddy was still like.
What month did that happen in?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I want to say June.
Yeah, because
summer.
I remember the one thing that they said is they said, "You watch what will happen. There'll be more fires this year than ever before in the Hollywood Hills and all that."
Well, I remember that was when I go to Miami 3 or 4 times a year to visit my parents, and I think I was coming back that week, and I just remember flying over Inglewood, and it was like a Saving Private Ryan scene where you just multiple fires. And, I think they had to like fly in a normal pattern for coming into LAX because of the smoke, and so it was
the cool thing that I did. And I got to be able to find these VHS tapes. I had a VHS camcorder, and this in the early 90s. And I remember thinking, I'm just going to start filming stuff. And I know I went up in the hills and I was just filming the landscape, and you'd see those fires. And somebody had the radio on, so they're talking about the riots. And then I actually, that's cool. That came out cool. So I remember going down in some of the really bad areas with the radio on and just driving around there, filming it by myself in my car. I'm lucky I didn't get my ass kicked through that.
You were in the VFW area.
Yeah.
Very few whites.
See, to me, again, there's one race, and that's the human race. I don't see it that way.
Well, this reminds me of a story that you kind of have something to do with.
I
went to Westwood around that same time and bought Paul Mooney's album Race. And I hadn't known a lot about Paul Mooney. And I remember, and this shows you how crazy I am, I remember being in the record store. I'm like, oh my God, that's the guy who played Sam Cooke in the Buddy Holly story. So I'll buy the CD, and I get in my car. I put the CD in the player. My windows are down, and the first joke, let's just say it's about, I think some white lady had gotten up, walked out of the crowd, and Paul was like, "That's okay, lady. You leave. I'm going to have some of my blank friends steal your car. And the cops pulled up right next to me, and they both looked at me like, what are you doing listening to this loud? And you were on the cover of that album.
I certainly was. That was like kind of a cool, that's my pro model days, because I got paid to be on the cover of that.
Bent over, has a race, like running a 100-yard dash or something.
They
like
had 3 white guys, and then Paul Mooney was standing with a gun above him. Yeah, and I saw it over at Amoeba one day, $70.
Let me see if I still have it here.
Do you really? Yeah, that would be. I'll tell you, the one thing that I was always kind of honored about, because Mooney hated everybody, and he actually liked me. He liked myself and this guy, Kevin West, and he let us fuck with him while I was on stage. And he actually had me in a bit of his. Oh, look at that. There it is. Race. Now, what's funny about this, the letters kind of cover everyone up, but this was at a time that CDs, you remember the big CD boxes?
Yes, I do. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Here, I'll come by you too.
So watch the listen. If you have the Paul Mooney CD Race, I'm going to take a picture of Don holding it up. Hold on, sorry.
Okay, I'm just right here. I'm talking now because I don't want silence on this.
1, 2.
There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Picture.
1, 2, 3.
And I think we got it.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Sorry, I had a moment there where I might edit that 20 seconds of dead air. Fuck it, I'll leave it in. I mean, this is, right now, we might be at the longest Inappropriate Earl ever.
Really?
We are at 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Should we wrap it up? I'm sorry.
No, I love it.
No, you know what? It's funny. As I'm sitting here, it's like when I said this earlier, I know you so well because we've hung out almost every night at the Comedy Store. You're always there, and it's been there for years.
5-6 years.
When did you start working with the BKO?
Well, long story short, I came to Dave Tyree, got me a set at Potluck, I think in about 2000.
How'd you know Dave Tyree?
I went to the store one night to watch Eddie Griffin with a bunch of my industry friends, and Dave Tyree was the opening act. And I really thought he was funny. And this was right around the time I was getting into stand-up. So I paid him $3,000 to write my... I didn't know any better at the time. I had no idea what...
You don't really know. And if you have the money, I think it's smart to invest. I think that, we wouldn't have Chris Rock, who he is today, if he didn't believe in the fact. Reinvest that money into your career.
Yeah, I mean, now I write my own jokes and all that stuff, but
back then
I was like, oh, I'll just pay this guy money to make me funny, and I gave him $3,000, and I still have the jokes he gave me, and I think most of them were stolen jokes, to be honest with you.
It could have been. One
of the jokes was, hey, I just stole a $20,000 liquor cabinet. I don't even drink. So just jokes like that, and I don't know, I look back, I went and looked at it the other day, and I just want to see, maybe I could rework some of these jokes into today's act. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I think these are stolen jokes, and or maybe they were old jokes of his.
And my Dr. Vinny Boombots.
Yeah, and talking about feeding a horse, and it feels like a vagina or something. I don't know.
Crazy stuff, man. But go on. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. So I, he actually got me a set of Potluck, and the store wasn't right for me at that time. And so I think I ended up coming back around 2009, 2010 maybe. And then that's when I, started heckling you and Brody. Good-naturedly, of course.
Absolutely.
And then I think Brody left, and then that's when I came in.
Brody started losing it. His mind was deteriorating more and more.
So, and then here we are at 2015, and I think Names Night is coming up pretty soon. If I am
is your name going up there?
I think me, Candace Thompson, and Eric Myers.
Really?
And I think probably Rob Schneider's name too. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't.
Absolutely. It won't matter to him as much as you guys, but it's there, and it adds to the store. So of course it'll go up.
So that should be fun. I think they do it on Mitzi's birthday, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really? Is that when they do it?
Yeah, sometime late July.
I don't know. Well, that's that. I'll tell you something. That's cool. That's going to be a cool moment for you.
I mean, that'll be neat.
Yeah,
so.
you know what? And maybe we should just talk about this and wrap this up because I didn't mean to go so long with you.
No, this is great.
But like I was saying, it's just like I wish I could talk about all the stuff we normally talk about.
Well, I don't know if that podcast could be aired.
No, you could. See, the great thing is you could air it, but would people, I know I wouldn't want people to hear it.
Well, let's just say one time me and Dean Del Rey, when I was co-hosting his podcast, when I was first getting my podcast feet wet, we did a great episode with a black comic by the name of The Great One. And I think you had the best question of all time when you asked him, why is he called The Great One? And let's just say the first 40 minutes were great. We're talking store stories, what got you into comedy, open mic war stories.
Was I there for this?
No, you were not. And then The Great One just proceeds to say the N-word about 60 times. And we never, it's a lost episode. Let's just say that. I've had two people say the N-word on this podcast.
I don't, trying to get me to say it. It's
no, I don't believe in that word. Although, it's a horrible word. And I will never say it.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. On this day, as we wrap this up today, we can think of this. What does the future hold? What does the future hold for you, me? And let's say in a year and a half, will Donald Trump be our new president? Right now, he leads the polls.
I mean, I don't think he will be. I think, like you said, this is just, get my face out there. I mean, he doesn't need the money. So, he's not spending I think they literally said he has not spent $1 on the campaign.
Because everybody wants to hear what he has to say.
So
and he's such a great quoter.
I think he's an attention whore, and nothing's wrong with that. I guess you and I are too.
Absolutely.
But I do think he's kind of hurting. I don't think the Republicans are going to beat Hillary Clinton, but
so you think she's going to be our next president?
Probably. I mean, we got a half black guy in there now. Why not a chick?
Didn't they say that last time though?
Well, I don't think there's
last election. Didn't they say that Hillary was going to win?
I don't think there's a candidate though that can beat her on the Republican side. I mean, when Trump is the best candidate so far for the Republicans, that's not good. And the guys who make the most sense and are probably the best politicians, like the Patakis and the Lindsey Grahams, they have 1%. I mean, you and I aren't even. I think it's an old Dennis Miller joke, but it's like, that's like 1% more than you and me, and we're not even running.
Right.
So I'm no joke thief, but it's topical for the moment. But like the Rat song says, Don, I hope you come back for more.
I don't think I would have wanted it to end any other way. Thank you, Earl.
But we're not done yet.
But I would like to say, I do appreciate you bringing me here. It feels very comfortable. I'm very at ease with you, and I think that there is a very good chemistry. So thank you. And the 2.5 hours did pass by pretty quick.
Well, because we're friends, and we're in the same jungle every night. And but I liked, before you go, I know you Twitter is at Simply Don1.
Simply Don1. My Facebook, Don Barris. My Instagram and my Periscope. People went with the Periscope. No, it's Periscope when I do it. That's at Simply Don1. And my Vine is at Don Barris. I do want to say, come and join us late night at the Comedy Store. If you're in town, maybe even get tickets to Kimmel. I do the audience warm up there. But I would like to say that we are going to have this big weekend on October 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Having people come out that are fans of the Big Three, and these fans have become fans of the Ding Dong Show, and I think I'm going to combine a lot of forces, and I'd like to kind of announce it here. So please come out and see that if you get a chance. It should be fun. It should be crazy. And if you're a big fan of Earl, which you are because you're listening to his show, he's going to be at least part of it on Friday night when we have our Live at Leeds concert. So...
And when you go on Twitter, when it's Simply Don1, it's the number 1. not
Thank you. Thank you.
one NE. So.
And I'm going to say this before I go. Take a guess. All right, everybody out there, close your eyes for 1 second. Think, which one of the two of us is wearing nail polish today? I'm not going to say that. Maybe get back in Earl and cast your vote.
Well, it was inspired by Steve Stevens.
Okay, that kind of gives it away.
But who knows? Maybe you were inspired by Steve Stevens.
Well, I think that since all you've been doing is talking about him, and
well, I'm excited to get him on the couch. Because here's the first question I'm going to throw at him.
all right,
And this goes to my interviewing style. Steve Stevens, legendary guitar player, been asked 1,000 times, tell us about working with Billy Idol. When you left, what was it like coming back? My first question is going to be about the Peter Criss solo album he was on.
a lot of people wouldn't have gone that route.
Because you think about it. 1980, Peter Criss leaves Kiss. Everyone was in his ear. You don't need Kiss. You're going to be bigger than Kiss. You're the drummer from Kiss. We're going to get you this great band. Steve Stevens, the guitar player. I just have to know what the vibe in the studio was like. It must have been, wow. They probably even thought, wow, we're in the next Kiss, Chris. And It didn't work out.
How bad of a failure was it?
Well, he had 2 solo albums, but just didn't... he's not the first guy to leave Kiss thinking he was going to move on to bigger and better pastures. So,
weren't most of the guys kicked out though?
Benny Vincent was kicked out 3 times in 2 years.
Wasn't Ace Frehley kicked out?
Well, he says he left. He was, they'll say he was fired. Mark St. John, who was the guitar player on Animalize, which was Heaven's on Fire. He basically was kicked out for being too good of a musician.
That usually happens in a band.
Like they said, Paul tells a great story about, he only played 3 live shows with them.
Did not know that.
He says they're doing like Detroit Rock City or something, and Paul looks over and here's this guy slinging the guitar around his neck, playing behind his ears, playing with his mouth. And it's like, okay, this guy's not going to fit in with us. He was basically too flashy.
Well, oh, really? Because didn't they try to do that with Ace a little bit, like with all the electronics and the fire coming out of his guitar and stuff?
But I think with Ace, it was to cover up his technical inadequacies. But with Mark St. John, granted he was only in Kiss for about 9 months. It was like, okay, this guy's going to outshine us from the standpoint of visually on stage.
Okay, you know what I'd like to say before we go? I'm sorry, did I cut you off there? I apologize if I did. I thought you were kind of finished.
No, I was just saying. Then Kiss went into their B. Arthur lookalike stage. The Asylum era.
Right. Well, before we go, I would feel terrible if you didn't close today's show with some line that meant something to you from Rat.
Let me see. There's so many lines. Slip and slide, take a ride. You want the best of both worlds. Caviar is hard to find. You're not a big city girl. You have dreams to make it big right off the Greyhound bus.
Ask for a line, but keep going as I leave.
That's really all I know. Dance, dance, dance. Feel the heat of the rhythm. Feel the heat of my hand. Dance, dance, dance. I see the way that you're moving. You need a little romance.
Thanks for having me on, Earl. Bye.
Don Barris, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Vine, Barriscope. See him late night at the Comedy Store. Close out the show every night. Inappropriate Earl. Again, go rent, buy Windy City Heat. Listen to the Ding Dong Show every Monday night. Comedy Store, longest running show in the history of the store. The Big 3 podcast. What are the other 2 podcasts?
Simply Don the podcast.
Simply Don the podcast. Support. And then the Ding Dong Show podcast. Go see Jimmy Kimmel live. You get to see Don warm up the crowd in a suit. And this is Inappropriate Earl, SoundCloud and iTunes. See ya. Lay it down. Lay it down. I know you don't really know me. I know you don't really care to see me. Suck it.